So you remember that? So I already had some of that.
Evangeline, I'm just going to leave my camera off on the Zoom for now because I'll be watching on the live stream unless something happens. Then I'll,
That's fine. And you can go ahead and mute yourselves until you're ready to talk.
right. I'll turn my camera on when it's time to talk.
Sure does. There he is. Good. I may need your help. I'm going to be also on this Zoom call from here. And see people that are on the Zoom call, all they can see is the audience, right? Because that's what this is. So if I log in from here and I hold the phone, they'll be able to see what's going on. I'm going to try just telling it I'm calling in.
This information is showing up. That's information right there, right? Yeah. It's going to be not visible. I need to closer to the TV. Do you have the mic close to it? I can bring the mic closer to the TV if that'll get it to see where it's. The mic's in the corner. I need to move it over or something.
Well, I'm going to be standing in the back of the room, recording the front of the people.
I'm talking about this camera that's on this TV. It looks like it needs to come this way. So
Or just turn the camera.
Well, the phone that is just
Evangeline,
ma'am.
it appears that the live feed from the funeral home is not up and running, and they said it would be 30 minutes before the
I'm working
meeting.
on it right now, Mel.
Okay. All right, just wanted you to be aware.
Good afternoon. This is a little sound check. We did. On behalf of the family of the Deans, I just want to welcome you. And thank you. This is the day that the Lord has made, and we'll rejoice and we go ahead in it. That's a fundamental truth that we have believed over the years. It's good to mourn with those who mourn. It's good to celebrate with those who are celebrating. And we're here to do both today in all reality. Right? The body that's behind us in that casket, we don't believe her spirit is there anymore. But it's a symbol left behind of years of love, years of effort and engagement with people. Right? And because we are created in God's image, people matter. And so we're here. And I just want to thank you for taking time out of your day and out of your life to join us in this wonderful celebration. And it's okay. My name is Tim Baldwin. I happen to be a son-in-law of Patty Deneen. And I'd like to, beyond the folks who are present in this room, I'd like to extend a welcome to those who are here joining us online. And I know that there are several, perhaps many of you. And I don't pretend to be a pastor, and I don't pretend to be a technology guru. So my request is that you give me grace, give us grace as we're adapting to all of the changes that we've all been dealing with in the last year, both because of medical reasons and because of technology changes. These are challenging times. And so it's good to pause and to remember from where we've come and where we're going to go. And with that, I'd like to open us with the scripture today. From the very beginning, the creation of the world. These are challenging times. In the beginning, it's good to pause. The heaven and the earth. The earth was without form and void, and darkness was over. That I'd like to open us with the scripture today. God was hovering over the very beginning of God's word, the book of Genesis. Let there be light. And there was light. And God saw the light, and it was good. I love that one of the first things that our Creator God did was create light, so that we would not be a people in darkness, that we would be able to see and go before. And of course, the rest of that first chapter of Genesis goes through the creation and all of its forms until we get to verse 26. And then God said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the heavens, and over the livestock, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created them. Male and female, he created them. It was God's plan. It was God's design that we would live in light and that we would know our Creator, that we would be somewhat like him, right? And that's our encouragement today. I believe I was supposed to share a password eventually. I don't know if they got that. For the live stream, the password, if you're needing any help with that Zoom link, the password is Patricia. Patricia, Patricia. So God started it all, right? That's why we are here. And I would ask you to think a little more deeply with those little words in your mind. Why are we here? Not just why are we here today? Why are we here? Why are we walking around on planet Earth? And what was it that God wanted to do with us, his creation? So while that very God I'm speaking of started it all with the very breath of his mouth, he spoke it into existence, moved it all into motion by the very force of his will. When Moses was wanting to know who was this God, God simply said to Moses, as the scripture writer says in Exodus 3:14, tell Pharaoh, I am has sent me to you. I am. It's the verbiage of meaning. It's the verbiage of existence. It's what we cry out as little people, like in Dr. Seuss in that famous story, 100 Years of who are screaming, I am here, I am here, by trying to be heard. It's the cry of every human heart to have significance, that somebody would know that we are actually here and that we matter. I am is the ultimate statement of God's own self-existence and his immediate presence with us. God does not need anyone else for his existence. His plans stand alone and need no other circumstances to be. He promises us that he will be what he will be, an eternally constant God, ever present, unchanging, completely able in himself to do what he wills and to accomplish his purposes, to walk with his people. One of the things we also read in scripture is that God promised our great forefather Abraham in Genesis 17:7. You will have descendants as numerous as the stars of heaven if you are able to number them. And from the time in the beginning when God said, let us make man in our own image, to Abraham these years later and down through to today, Patricia, Deneen, took her turn in that tremendous promise of God and gave life to 5 daughters. And she mothered another daughter and son through marriage as well. So by birth order, and for me to be able to marry into the family, I had to remember this birth order. Right? So Melps, M-A-L-P-S is how I did it. Daughter Melody, who is on the live stream, is in Texas at this moment. Firstborn daughter Melody Lingo of Texas. Daughter Evangeline Reed, here in the front row. Husband Tom is doing some viewing here, also of Texas. Daughter Elizabeth, or Lee Wood, late of Pasadena, California. My own wife, Deborah Pony Baldwin, of here in Michigan, and daughter Sonia Swan, who I've suddenly lost, where she is, of Iowa. These 5 daughters were given breath, of course, first and foremost by God, but through life and effort as represented by Patricia here today. And as I mentioned, Patty also loved and spent many summers with Papa Dan's 2 children, Mary and her brother, Michael Deneen. Life is significant, folks. It's not always, as they say, a bowl of cherries. It has its ups and downs. but it matters. And our God is with us, and His presence is with us. In just a few minutes, you're going to have an opportunity to hear from the three daughters who are here today, and from daughter Melody as well, through the technology, who will join us from her home with her husband John in Texas. If you haven't seen it yet, I believe it's on Facebook and maybe some other sources. You'll want to take a look at the wonderful and the full obituary that Melody lovingly framed for us, and then the sisters collaborated on to complete. It is, in my humble opinion, a full and a beautiful picture of the life of Patricia Deneen. So with that, just to give you a little thumbnail of what we're going to do today. Many of you here are family. There's a handful of guests and friends and family. We're so grateful that every one of you could make it and join us online. We're going to have the three daughters come up and begin with some songs. They spent years singing together. Many of you know that we have some talented musicians in the family. And they're going to share a couple of songs briefly, and then they're going to take their time at the mic and share their stories. We're going to offer you, the audience, those of you who knew Patty, a chance to just speak for 30 seconds or maybe if you have a story, an anecdote that you like to share. I'll give you a brief opportunity, and then we're going to hand it off to some of the anecdotes. So I'm hoping to be out of here in more than an hour and a half. I don't know what the typical funeral is, but we got some artistic and creative people here. This will be fun. We do then have some following instructions that I'll give you near the end of the service. So with that, let me pray. And as I'm praying, if the three girls would like to come up, we've got two microphones over here that the girls will need to also use. But let's bow our head in prayer and I'll offer. Dear Heavenly Father, we are grateful, as I started, that this is the day that you have made, where we trust wholeheartedly that you are sovereign God and that you are in control of all of eternity. You are the God who created and sustains the cosmos, and we wouldn't be here without your touch, without your spoken word, without you creating us into existence. But Father, we are here to hear and reflect upon the life well lived of Patricia Deneen. Lord, you created her, you loved her, and you protected her through the years. We're so grateful for every day that she's had with us on planet Earth and that we were able to join. But we just pray that your presence will be here today and that you'll give with the daughters and the grandchildren your heart, that these stories will remind us of who you are and who Patty was, that we can both mourn and celebrate this day. We love you. It's in your name we pray.
Okay. We have, I don't know if everybody, did you guess that one of these pieces of paper that had songs on them? So thank you for getting me one. We sisters wanted to sing, but we would love for you to sing with us. We were just going to do a couple of verses of How Great Thou Art, and I Sing the Mighty Power of God, and Celebrate Mom's Life. Oh Lord my God, when I in awesome wonder consider all the worlds thy hands have made, I see the stars, I hear the rolling thunder, thy power throughout the universe display. Then sings my soul, thy Savior God, to thee. thee. How great thou art! How great thou art! When through the woods and forest glades I wander, and hear the birds sing sweetly in the trees. When I look down from lofty mountain grandeur and see the brooks and feel the gentle breeze, then sings my soul, my Savior comes to thee. How great thou art! How great thou art! Then sings my soul, my Savior comes to thee. How great thou art! How great thou art! I sing the mighty power of God that made the mountains rise, that spread the flowing seas abroad and built the lofty stars. I sing the wisdom that ordained the sun to rule the day. The moon shines full at his command, and all the stars obey. I sing the goodness of the Lord that filled the earth with food. He formed the creatures with his word and then pronounced them good. Lord, how thy wonders are displayed where'er I turn my eye. If I survey the ground I tread, or gaze upon the sky, there's not a plant or flower below, what makes thy glories known. And clouds arise and tempests flow by order from thy throne. While all that borrows life from thee is ever in thy care, and everywhere that man can be, thou God art present there.
So actually, I just have one quick verse of scripture before the gals begin, and it has to do with singing. There was a lot of music in the family growing up, and those are great memories. But Psalm 59, verses 16 through 17 says, "But I will sing of your strength. In the morning I will sing of your love. For you are my fortress, my refuge in time of trouble. You are my strength. I sing praise to you, God. You are my fortress, my God, on whom I can rely." So with that, want to be first?
Melody's on
Melodies
Builders.
first. You get technology.
Yes, so let me find Melody here and I think the television is out enough if I turn it up, but you guys let me know. Hold on. Okay, can you say something, Mel?
Welcome, everyone. Glad you came. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, very good. Well, I'm very honored and privileged to be here, even though I must do it virtually. And I'm so grateful that all of you came. I'm going to share some thoughts with you about my mother. And I'm just so privileged to be able to do that. Let me get my. My precious mother, Patricia Joan, was born on February 15th, the day of innovation. Her first name, Patricia, means noble. Her middle name, Joan, means gracious. Mama personified both qualities. She shared her birth date with such notable persons as Galileo, the inventor of the telescope, Susan B. Anthony, leader of the women's suffrage movement, and pioneer John Sutter. Gold discovered on his Sierra Nevada land sparked the 1848 gold rush. What an impressive bunch of innovators. My mother's accomplishments in life were no less impressive to all who knew and loved her. As her eldest child, I have been privileged to spend 61 years of my life observing her brilliance, adoring her as a mother, and in her later years, getting to know her better as a friend, a mentor, and counselor. She was all those things to me and more. Mama as a teacher, Mom was brilliant and highly curious woman who loved to read, study, and acquire knowledge on a wide range of topics. I remember as a youngster seeing her sitting at our kitchen table, often every square inch covered with study materials, reference manuals, concordances, her nose buried in books and papers. This woman did her homework on any topic that caught her fancy. Back then, every topic had to be researched manually. That was 20 years before the internet existed. Mom was an enthusiastic supporter of bookstores and public libraries. Although she excelled academically in her youth, she continued to seek knowledge until just a few days before she drew her last breath. Mama gave me the gift of a love for learning when she taught me to read at age 4 before I started school. That gift remains with me today and serves me well. As a prolific writer and editor, Mama was a master wordsmith with a capital W. Most of her writings were never published due to her modesty and lack of confidence that anyone would be interested in what she had to say. As a fellow writer, I did my best in recent years to convince her otherwise, but by then, she no longer had the energy or drive to put in the effort required to get published. You need to mute it, honey, because they're hearing that. She left behind a treasure trove of writings that we as a family intend to compile and share in the future. As an avid reader, Mom subscribed to the Reader's Digest every year. Whenever a new issue arrived in our mailbox, just for fun, Mom would open it to the section called Word Power on Saturday mornings while cooking breakfast. She took much pleasure in testing the knowledge of anyone within earshot on the definition of the words in that particular edition. Laughter and giggles usually erupted around the room as we kids would often guess a definition incorrectly. Then Mom would read the correct definition out loud. Mom made learning fun. As a mother and a role model, my fondest memories of my mother include lots of times of laughter, tears, and everything in between. Small child, I remember hearing her often humming cheerful tunes as she cooked and moved around the house. When I was young, she was full of cheerfulness and optimism, and sunny skies made her disposition even better. When it came to child rearing, her method was exceptionally low-key. She rarely allowed her emotions to control her response to any given situation, even when she had to discipline us. Once she caught my sisters and I sitting on the floor in a semicircle in front of an open cabinet under the kitchen sink. We had pulled out and opened a box of dog biscuits and were helping ourselves to an afternoon snack. Cool and calm, she picked up the box and flipped it over to read the ingredients. Satisfied with what she'd read, she said to us, "These are healthier than most breakfast cereals. Go ahead and eat them if you can stand the taste," and handed the box back to us. For Mom, everything was a teaching moment, even when I misbehaved. When we were kids, Mom loved to sponsor an annual watermelon eating contest at our house every summer that she was able to. She asked us to invite our friends who eagerly flocked to our home for the exciting competition. She purchased several watermelons, cut them into huge slices, and arranged them on a table in the yard. The fun part was Mom didn't just sponsor the contest. Oh no. She was a contestant too. Unbeknownst to the teenage boys who assumed they would win, Mom won every single time. Her secret? Never stop to spit or pick out seeds. Swallow them all and keep going. She could eat anyone under the table when it came to eating the most watermelon. And boy, did she have fun doing it. Mom's parenting skills were not limited to only the happy times. When I was 14, I became extremely ill with pneumococcal pneumonia. I was diagnosed with the bacterial form. Due to a weakened immune system, I quickly became unconscious and due to a high fever and was hospitalized. Pneumococcal pneumonia has a 5 to 7% fatality rate, especially if it enters the bloodstream, which in my case. Mom sat by my hospital bed for 3 days and prayed for my recovery. I woke up to see her smiling face welcoming me back. Without her prayers, I doubt I would have pulled through. Thanks, Mom. For this and all the times you prayed for me. I'm alive and well today because of you. Once Mom coached me through a crisis when I was in junior high. Some tough older girls on the school bus I rode were bullying me daily. I told Mom about it, and she gave me sage advice to apply the next time it happened. She told me, the next time anyone tries to bully you, don't acknowledge them, ignore them, and tell them you don't have anything to fight with them about, and tell them to leave you alone. I followed her advice and was never bullied by that group of girls again. Her wisdom guided me throughout my childhood and teen years. When I listened and applied her advice, I overcame obstacles. When I ignored her advice, I made bad life choices. But Mom was always consistent, cool, calm, and tolerant of my mistakes, using them as teaching moments for me. Mom, as a friend, mentor, and counselor, in her later years, Mom became truly my friend, my mentor, and my counselor. As my friend, Mom was caring, compassionate, and affectionate. In the last few years of her life, I spent many happy days with her. As we cooked together, watched our favorite movies, discussed the day's news, played word games, laughed, cried, shared our hearts with each other, and hugged a lot. She loved to give and receive hugs, especially what she called bear hugs. As my mentor, Mom continued to model optimism, curiosity, and wisdom. Her examples of how to treat others with respect, tolerance, and dignity without judgment never ceased to amaze me. As my counselor, Mom was my primary confidant, whom I trusted with my deepest secrets and struggles. Her encouragement got me through some really tough times in my life. And her support was my rock. So thank you, Mom, for pouring yourself into me and never rejecting or judging me. What you taught me will always be my guiding light as I continue to navigate this earthly life. I will always love you for your unselfish generosity, your time, energy, and most of all, your unconditional love. Mama, your legacy, love, and creativity will live on in those gathered here today, including those online. Your children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and your great-great-grandson, whom you never got to meet here on earth, unfortunately. Although I will miss you deeply every day, your spirit will live on in my heart and mind until that glorious day when we meet again on the other side of eternity. I love you, Mama.
Thank you so much, Melody.
It's your turn. If you'll be within a half an inch.
Half an inch.
There you go. You got it, right there.
Okay, so it's my turn. I wore purple in honor of my mother. I thought about black and I thought, no. I even wore my sparkly earrings in honor of her because she was all about bling. She wore her game hat with all the sparkles on it and she played to win. And she usually did win. Okay, so I had the privilege of having my mom at my house the last few years. Actually, she had her own little house, which worked out even better, but she was close by. And so we saw each other often. And I happened to be the one that took care of her a lot towards the last few weeks. And took her to the emergency room when her oxygen sat so low that we were afraid of her, what was going to happen. So in the emergency room, somehow I was able to sit with her, which shouldn't have happened according to hospital rules, but they let me in. And I was able to sit with her, and I sat with her for 2 days in the emergency room. Also, it's not supposed to happen. They're supposed to admit you or kick you out, basically. And she did not want to be admitted because they would have put her in isolation, and she would not have been able to have anyone visit her. And that was her worst fear in life. So I was able to sit with her, and she was so chatty. And she was just listening with me through the oxygen mask, and she would tell stories and she would ask questions. And one time when we were sitting there, she said, Angela, do you remember that poem I wrote called Pinocchio? And I said, oh, remind me, I think I do. What was that poem about? And she said, that was a poem about becoming real. And she said, I haven't quite gotten there yet. I'm still learning to become real. So I wanted to read to you Pinocchio in honor of my mother, Patricia Deneen, copyright 1990. Pinocchio. I stuffed my feelings deep inside. I hid them well because of pride. I dare not show how great my pain for fear you view me with disdain. My daddy taught me to be strong. Showing weakness was all wrong. Protect yourself. Don't be weak. Only martyrs comfort seek. And so I learned acceptance of rejection, insults, lack of love. On the outside, I didn't care. But the child inside was in despair. I'm not a martyr, thank the Lord. My hurts and griefs are safely stored where prying eyes can never see. The lonely, wounded, fearful me. So year by year, because of pride, my buried feelings petrified. When one breaks loose and tries to yell, I lock it back into itself. I've been wooden for so long, a strength to others who thought me strong. I'm afraid to let you see there's quite another side of me. There's quite another weaker me. Sorry. I can take what you dish out. My skin is tough without a doubt. But now, two people live in me. The one I am and the one you see. I'm so afraid of being real. Will it hurt? How will it feel? Hiding hurts is my forte. Can I survive another day? Oh God above, please help me know your love. You love me, you're Pinocchio. Your love, you love the person I really am without pretense, without the sham. And if I'll let you make me real, vulnerable, human, so I can feel, I won't need that old facade. I'll be safe at last in the love of God. So I didn't get to read the poem until after she passed. And as I read it, I thought, she was becoming real. I don't know if you all noticed it towards the end. Like, she was really becoming more vulnerable, more able to share her feelings and more real. And now, based on what we all know, she's like really real. Like, it's a real that we can't even imagine. So that's all I have to share.
Do we want to do Lee's in order, or do you want? Let me ask Melody if she's ready to do Lee's. Mel, are you ready to do Lee's, or do you want a Pony to go first?
I'm easy, whatever you guys want to do. If we want to do the ones that are there first, and then we add Lee at the end, that's fine.
Okay, let's do Lee first. Let's do them in order. We'll do the daughters in order.
Okay, just one moment here.
Sure. Me too. I got to find your video and pin you.
Okay. Can you see and hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay. Yesterday I had a conversation with a very special woman who helped take care of my sister in her last years, and she was very ill as well. And I asked her to tell me some things that Lee might say if she were here today. And so many of you may not know that in January of this year, 2 days before her 57th birthday, our middle sister, Lee, moved to heaven. But had she been able to be here today, these are a few of the things that she most likely would have shared, things that she admired about our mom. Kristen and Lee spent 14 years battling the same health issues, and they took turns being caregivers for each other. So Kristen knows Lee very well, and she knows our family history very well. And she's online today. So I just want to say thank you, Kristen, for all that you did for our sister Lee. We're so glad that you're here to help us celebrate our mom's life and legacy. Thanks too for helping us compile this list of things that Lee liked about Mom. Lee often spoke about how she loved the fact that Mama was a student of the Word of God. Lee also loved the creative ways that Mama imparted God's Word to us by encouraging us to memorize Scripture. Once when Mom was teaching a ladies' Bible study class in our home, Lee came home in the middle of the class and was kind of restless and running around the house. So Mom excused herself for a few minutes, long enough to walk Lee to her room, and handed her a Bible, picked out a random passage and asked Lee to spend some time memorizing that passage, and then Mom returned to the Bible study. A short while later, Lee reappeared in the room where the ladies were gathered and proudly announced, "Well, I memorized that passage of scripture. Want to hear me recite it to you? The ladies were amazed as Lee stood in their midst and spoke every word of the lengthy passage without missing a beat. And she'd only had a few minutes or, a short time to memorize it. Lee appreciated the fact that Mom encouraged all of her girls to be musical. When each girl reached the age of 12, or at least that was true for me, Mom generally would ask, what musical instrument do you want to learn? And Lee attributed her love of playing the guitar and writing music to Mom's encouragement and support. She went on to become quite skilled on the guitar, wrote many songs in her youth, and led a worship team at her church as an adult. One of Lee's favorite things about Mom was the way she taught her children to love words and books. Every time Lee would ask Mom, "Mom, how is this word spelled?" Mom's first response was to point to the dictionary, point in that direction and say, "Go look it up yourself." Lee believed that was what helped her develop a curiosity about words and a desire to learn their definitions. Lee also loved that our family shared favorite books. When one of us would read a book and enjoy it, we would share it with the others, which in Lee's mind is what helped her develop a love of reading. Now, this is just a personal side note that I stuck in here, but you should know that as children, we were not allowed to watch much TV, so reading was strongly encouraged by our mom. She would often say, if we were bored, "Go outside, climb a tree, eat an apple, and read a book." And we did just that. In February of 1995, Mom gave Lee a green frog puzzle. It's a little puzzle that sits in your hand and has one open space so you can move the pieces around. And with the green frog puzzle, Mom included a little note that was an inscription about it. And the inscription read as follows. These are Mom's words. "Dear Lee, it is said that one must kiss a lot of frogs before one of them turns into a prince. I realize you may not be ready for a prince for a long time yet, but the time is bound to come. Before human nature and hormones beat me to the punch, I would like to offer this observation. In real life, frogs never turn into anything but trouble. A frog is a frog. If you're tempted to start kissing frogs, please kiss the one enclosed. After you have unscrambled them, of course. Frogs always come scrambled, and unscrambling them, as you well know, is about as easy as unscrambling an egg. So name this frog, kiss him often. I pray it may be the only frog you are ever inclined to kiss, and that you may be granted the strength to wait for the true prince you so richly deserve. Love always, Mom." Lee also cherished memories of the special family traditions at Christmas time. One of those traditions was the annual Merriam Sister written, directed, and produced Christmas play that we 5 girls performed for relatives who came to visit us at Christmas. Our living room became a theater with a stage at one end and seats for our audience in rows at the other end. Lee always helped write the plays, but she was best suited to be the director. She had no problem telling the rest of us what to do, where to stand, what to say, and when to make an appearance from behind the curtain, which was usually an old sheet thrown over a curtain rod and balanced precariously across tall pieces of furniture. Lee was proud of our thespian streak as a family, and as an adult, she set a goal of becoming an actress in Hollywood. She made it to Los Angeles, but the acting career never really materialized, except that she did perform in her church groups with plays and musicals and so forth. The other Christmas tradition that Lee loved was opening the spectacular stockings that Mom stuffed for us every Christmas. Mom was a champion stocking stuffer. She managed to fill our stockings with not only traditional trinkets, but also a wide variety of knickknacks and novelties that were personalized for each girl. How she managed to stuff 5 stockings every year was a mystery to all of us, and it was a tradition that we have carried into our own families. Lee also loved the fact that Mom just let us be kids. We created everything from a circus in the backyard to indoor forts made from blankets and thrown over tables, chairs, and other furniture, piled high with heavy books to keep them from sliding off. The thing Lee loved was that Mom encouraged us to use our imaginations and creativity. That was always encouraged in our home. And lastly, one of the special traditions, I didn't know about this until yesterday, and I thought it was so special. One of the special traditions that Lee and Mom shared in Mom's later years was that of exchanging greeting cards with special themes every month. Mom insisted that whatever was written on said cards was written by hand. If the card giver ran out of room to complete their thoughts about the theme they had selected while writing on the card, Mom's rules said they had to use a sheet of regular paper to finish writing about the theme, fold it up, and stick it in the card before mailing across the country to the card receiver. Lee would often say to Kristen, kind of in a panic, "We need to come up with a theme this month and go find a card to go with it." I know that if Lee were here today, she would be echoing all of the thoughts that the rest of us girls are sharing today. That she really truly loved Mom, and you know, no relationship is ever perfect, but Lee did appreciate the fact that Mom encouraged us all to be creative. And you can see how that has trickled down over the years. This family is one of the most creative, imaginative groups on the planet, I believe. And so that kind of wraps it up for Lee's statements. And thank you for listening. I hope you're listening, Lee.
Thank you, Melody. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Oh, the live stream paused.
So I'm only daughter number 4, and I can write mine down. Unless I get too emotional. Scripture says, it is better to go to a house of mourning than to a house of feasting. For death is the destiny of everyone, and the living should take this to heart. There's another translation that I kind of like to it. Just says, better to spend your time at funerals than at parties. After all, everyone dies, so the living should take this to heart. Scripture also says in Psalm 116 that precious in the sight of the Lord is the death of his saints. I feel really conflicted about those because I don't want to say goodbye to my mom. So it's hard for me to accept that. But I believe it's true. And it's really caused me to think through this whole process. My mom was really a force to be reckoned with. If you spent any time with her at all, you soon came to realize that her quick wit, distinctive laugh, and superb storytelling skills were addictive. They made you want to come back for more. She was wise, strict, and opinionated. She was compassionate and concerned for those around her. She loved God, and she taught each of her children to love him as well. But I discovered that she was really in no hurry to go meet him for eternity. Mom loved life here on this planet Earth. She found humor and got tickled over things that no one else could appreciate until she pointed it out to you. She loved to collect funny stories and read them to whomever she could corral to listen. She wrote poetry, and quite often she wrote such humorous pieces that she would have us all in stitches. Mom loved life, this life, which is probably why she told us that she was struggling to breathe, that she was going to fight like a tiger to get better. And she did. She did fight. In Job 14:5, scripture says, "You have decided the length of our lives. You know how many months we will live, and we are not given a minute longer." I was not ready for my mom to step into eternity, but she did anyway. She was not ready to leave us or her earthly home, but she did. Now I can't help but wonder if I am ready. I do love life here on earth. Its beauty is all I've ever known. But as we celebrate my mom's life, simultaneously, I am preparing for eternity. And I have never been more grateful than now to my mom for placing my hand into the hand of God, who picked the day and chose the hour of mom's passing from this life into eternity. I just wanted to share a song for you that I actually wrote this after my daddy died in 2006. He too loved life. And as I got to thinking about what I wanted to share with you all, I realized that both my mom and my dad have been teaching me my whole life and preparing me, for the minute when sisters are now, we're the next generation. Our parents are gone. And we want to be examples to our children. I don't wanna die in the winter, have the snow cover my bed. I don't wanna die in the summer with the warm sun overhead. I don't wanna die in the springtime and I miss the brightest green. I don't wanna die in the autumn and I see the falling leaves. Well, there's no good time to say goodbye, so each moment on this earth I'll try to live it like it just might be my last. Heaven's waiting patiently to show me all the beauty I have. Heaven's waiting patiently to show me all the beauty I've ever known. It's here at home. I don't want to die in the morning as the birds begin to sing. I don't want to die in the evening as the sun sets lingering. I don't want to die in the daytime that was meant to live and laugh. I don't want to die in the nighttime as the lonely hours pass. Well, there's no good time to say goodbye. So each moment on this earth I'll try to live it like it just might be my last. Heaven's waiting patiently, but for now, the shock and crown, only beauty I have known is here at home. If I could pick the day, choose the hour, I would never give you to death. Oh, but there is one who has the power. Thank God, He knows what's best. I just want every moment without fear clouding my view. I just wanna live every hour the way my Father wants me to. I just wanna live through my lifetime with an eye on my new home. And then I wanna die with the knowing that I am not alone. Well, there's no good time to say goodbye. So each moment on this earth I'll try to live it like it just might be my last. Heaven's waiting patiently to show me all the beauty I've never known. In my new home. I don't know if I can say much. I wrote a Facebook post 2 days ago, took me about a week. At Evangelist's house until I got home and I was able to kind of process a little bit. So I just want to say, for those of you that knew that my mom was struggling, I want to thank you for being here today. I want to thank you for your prayers for our family. This was rather sudden for us, although we knew that mom was struggling a little bit this last year. We weren't quite ready for this particular time. So thank you so much, and thank you for being here today to honor her life. While our entire family has been struggling with the loss of this amazing woman and mentor, we remember this scripture in Ecclesiastes. To everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under heaven. Patricia Deneen knew this and many other scriptures well. On this earth, she was a woman of strong faith in the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and a seeker of truth, no matter where that truth led her. It's hard to believe that just a few days ago, we were all holding her hand and stroking her hair and whispering into her one good ear, "Hang in there, Mama." Yet this was indeed her time for transformation into the next stage of her journey. She was a light bearer. She was full of laughter, comfort, and encouragement, and she was everyone's biggest cheerleader. Her laughter was contagious, her eyes twinkled, and when she looked deeply into your eyes, you knew that you were loved. She taught her children to love the Lord their God with all their hearts and minds and souls. And I just want to say, for those of us remaining, there's always a saying, and when you read that scripture,
if you were invited to a funeral or wedding, which one should you go to? And always the funeral, because our job on this planet is to grow and into whatever the Lord has us to grow into, right? The best version of us and contribute to this planet. And funerals tend to do that for us because we look at our own mortality, we look at our mistakes, and we look at our future, and we begin planning forward to that, right? We begin planning. Mom actually had a book on her shelf. It was called, "What Will They Say About You When You're Gone?" So as we were tending to her in her hospital bed, was sitting in the room, we were glancing right up at the bookshelf. And that book was prominently displayed. Every other book was facing just in the bookshelf, like you normally put a book. But this one had been pulled out and was facing forward. And was obviously had a bookmark in it and it was being read. So she too was thinking about, what are people going to say about me when I'm gone? She was not perfect, and yet she was the perfect mom for all of her children. She never gave up on us, even when it looked like we might be lost. And I have to say, I probably topped the list of those that had times when I could have been lost. Everyone who knew her, even just for a short time, which amazes me, everyone who knew her, even just for a short time, loved her. She just had that effect on people. She was a wordsmith, as Melody said, and able to turn a phrase like no other. And believe it or not, even though she was so shy about her writing, at the young age of 83, she was in the middle of her first novel, which hopefully, maybe together as a family, we can help her finish. So may the light and joy that she sowed into the hearts of all of us who knew her, who had the honor of knowing her, continue as we hold her close in our hearts. May our own lives exemplify her kindness, generosity, and love to all the people that we encounter. Her best friend had a dream a few days ago. She was looking around everywhere and she couldn't find my mom. It was a place she was not familiar with, and she kept running up to people and asking them, "Where's Patricia? Where's Patricia?" She calls her PJ. So you hear Patricia, Patty, and PJ. "Where's PJ?" And they're like, "She's not here, she died." She's like, no, that can't be. And she'd go to the next person and she'd say, "Where's PJ?" And they're like, "She's not here." And finally she saw my mom. She's like, "PJ, there you are." The mom goes, "Why were you looking for me?" And she goes, "Well, I was looking for you because everybody said you died." And she said, "Mom looks lovely and happy and she's brilliant." And she turned her and she said, "Died? That must have been somebody else. I've never been more alive than I am right now." So Mom's life was powerful. And as you see from the display up here, she loved the Jewish people. She loved Israel. This is her menorah and her Shabbat candles and her, mezuzah. I can't, the name has been, her little mezuzah there. And so she was blessed by knowing a lot of people in the Jewish community and had edited a book for a rabbi. And I just wanted to read his words. I think she would be blessed if I read his words that he sent me about my mom. I can find him here. So when he learned of her passing, he said, "Baruch Diana Hamis," I hope I'm saying that right. "I am so sorry, so sorry. You lost a giant, a light in the world. You were so fortunate to have such a mother. I loved her deeply." And I believe that's everyone's sentiment. Thank you for being here.
All right, we're gonna share a brief and beautiful song real quick.
works in practice, so.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I've been freaking out a little bit sitting up here in the front seat because I had heels on earlier. And I have sandals on right now, right? And mom did have clothes for every particular occasion. She believed there was a proper way to dress. And I remember she particularly had something about pajamas. And she thought everyone should always change into a pair of pajamas before they went to bed. Well, I don't always change into a pair of pajamas before I go to bed. So I came here to Michigan one time to visit. And I was exhausted. I'd driven to Canada or something. And I said, Mama, I gotta lay down like right now. She made me a little bed on the floor. And she said, but where's your pajamas? I'm like, oh, they're in the car, you know, clothes I sleep in are in the car. She's like, well, you need to go get your pajamas. I'm like, no, Mom, I'm too tired. I am just gonna lay down. She's like, no, you need your pajamas. Where's your car keys? I'll go get your pajamas for you. I go, no, Mom, that's the suitcase. You don't want to bring the suitcase upstairs. She's like, no, really. I'd be happy to go get your pajamas for you. So she did have some very particularities, right, of things that she really thought was supposed to be. So as I stood up here and I'm like, I don't have on my right shoes. It's just like the pajama thing, right?
So this song was gonna be the song before I opened it up to the audience, those that may not be immediate family of Patty. And you're not required to, obviously, but if somebody has an anecdote, I don't know that you need to come up front. I know that the camera people will probably yell at me. But if you've got something, just could stand up and say it nice and loud. We'd love to. Okay, wife wins. So if you have something to say, if you come up to the mic, and share that just 30-second anecdote, something that you got for us, that would be great. So. Yes. You lost your chance. Actually, while the song is playing, if you think of something, come on up. I'll give 30 seconds to start for y'all to come up with anybody else.
Didn't know today would be our last. That I have to say goodbye to you so fast. I'm so numb I can't feel anymore. I'm praying you just walk back through that door and tell me that I was only dreaming. You're not really gone as long as I believe. There will be another angel around the throne tonight. And love lives on inside of me, and I will hold on tight. It's not my place to question, only God knows why. I'm just jealous of the angels around the throne tonight. Always made my troubles feel so small. And you were always there to catch me when I fall. In a world where heroes come and go, where conscience took the only one I know. So I'll hold you as close as I can, longing for the day when I see your face again. But until then, and I will hold on tight. It's not my place to question, only God knows why. I'm just jealous of the angels around the throne tonight, singing hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. I'm just jealous of the angels around the throne tonight.
I'm grateful we got that to work, gosh, I think. Anybody like to say anything, just lift your hand and I'll know, and otherwise, show it, and they'd like to say something. I've got a verse from the prophet Isaiah, chapter 41, verse 10. Children, I'm calling you children, Patty would be calling me grandchildren. Right, this is for you. Right? We know that we are mortal and we will not live forever. So, children, the prophet says, so do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. And with that, I think the kids are going to come and sing for you a song. I'm going to call an audible, guys. Let's just do one song today. Come Thou Fount. And you got a couple verses there that you're going to do. So come on up. Just circle around this microphone in a U shape. We'll be able to hear you without the mics. And then it's going to be probably a free for all to see who speaks.
Every blessing to my heart to sing thy grace. Streams of mercy never ceasing, call for songs of loudest praise. Teach me some melodious sonnet, sung by flaming tongues above. Praise the Mount High, fixed upon it, Mount of thy redeeming love. I'm just gonna have to repeat everything everybody else has already said, and I just need to say thank you for myself, that all of you come, because every single one of your faces keeps us going. So thank you. And I know how much you individually cared for her and what she meant to all of you. So many of you have already expressed it, so thank you. And Mima, was a friend to me. She wasn't just my grandmother, she was everything that her daughters have said. She was a confidant, she was a teacher, she was a mentor, she was a friend. And I'm so privileged to have been her granddaughter. And I know that we all feel the same way. I'm privileged to carry her name, Patrice. It's my middle name, and to share it with Olivia. And some of my very earliest memories are with Mima. And one of my very first ones was as a teacher. I had a bit of a stubborn streak, and I remember being told as a toddler not to put my hand on the burner of the stove. And I promptly did that. And my grandmother came and got me, and I was crying and carrying on. And she put me to bed in my mother's bed, and then she sang a song. And I think we all carry that song in us because she sang to us. And she sang little children's tunes and little rhymes and things. And I specifically remember one about blackbirds in a pie. And I think that's the one she sang to me when I burnt my finger and had to be put to bed. So I'm so crying. She also passed on so much humor. I don't know that I carried all that humor, but I appreciated the humor. And she would, one of my other memories is when she had an apartment here in Michigan and we went to visit her, and I thought that was very strange. I must not have known her very well at the time. And the first thing she did was bring me into the kitchen for a snack and feed me some peanut butter. And she stuck her finger in her mouth and started talking to me really funny, and I couldn't understand what was going on. I looked at her. She said, "I can't talk. My tongue is stuck to the roof of my mouth." And she had put her finger in there and pried off and it made a popping sound. And I remember laughing, and I went to my mom and I was like, "Mom, Grandma can't get her tongue off the roof of her mouth." So we had that humor that she passed to all of us, and everything that my aunts have shared is just so true of her. And I was privileged to be able to stay with her for 2 days a week at Angel's property, where my grandma was living, and I got to spend the night with her 2 days a week for 3 years. And I will never do the same. She would sit with me and we'd talk about the Lord. She'd pray with me and hold my hand. She would laugh with me, and when I struggled with making decisions, as I often do, and I sit there and turn into a puddle of stress and tension, she would try to help me fix it. She was very practical. She tried to help me fix it first. And when I simply could not be fixed, then she would just look at me and nod her head and let me deal with it. And that was it. It was just sweet, and it was what I needed. And then we would watch our shows together. And so we all got a little piece of Grandma. I think all of us can share that. Those were some of our favorite times, was when we got to spend time with Mima. My most treasured memories are from that time at Angels just recently. And also when she lived at our home. She taught me how to do my taxes, which I still struggle with to this day. But she taught me, and she was so methodical and helpful and patient. But the one that's most special to me is that we would sit and we would discuss theology. And we would nerd out about theology, but it meant something to her. It was a relationship. And that was ingrained deeply into me. She loved God, and she prayed it so sweet to her Heavenly Father. And I would like to carry that on best I can. And I'm so grateful for all the time that she spent talking to a teenager and a young person who didn't know much. She taught me so much. but I love my grandmother, and I just had to say it out loud so she knows. I'm Tracy, I'm also a great guy. I just wanted to say that Grandma always spoke her mind, as we know. When I was little, she called me a flibberty gibbet. Shout out to all my other flibberty gibbet cousins, probably Ryan and me. But we had so much energy, and Grandma, that was too much for Grandma. So as a little kid, I was like, oh no, Grandma doesn't like me, she doesn't like my personality, I'm too much for Grandma. But over the years, as I got older, Grandma lived with us here, and I was, going through high school at the time, and I was blessed to be able to introduce my husband to her, and she got to know him before we even got engaged, and she always wanted a grandkid named Zach. So that's my husband's name, so he instantly became favorite, and I was no longer important. But so that was really special. But over the years, once we moved to Texas, and Grandma was already in Texas, we got to visit her a lot because we only lived like 15 minutes from her. So Zach and I would go over and have movie nights with her and Nash nights. And that was really special. And Grandma told me that she was really thankful that she got to know me when I got older, because she felt like even when we all lived together here, that there was too much going on, and she couldn't get to know me like she wanted to. And she was really proud of me of who I had become, and that she got the opportunity to actually know who I was. So in my heart, I think I'll always be flirty to it. But that was one of the most special moments to me, and that I'll always have with her. But that we got to actually know each other before she passed away, and so that's really special. Yeah. Can we get price up on the screen? Price is the oldest of Tony's children, and he had a special relationship with her. So.
Hey everyone, can you hear me?
Not yet. I got to get the volume up. I had the volume down, so let's try it again. Oh, sorry, I just unmuted you. Try unmuting yourself again. Let me get you up on the screen. There we go.
All right. Hey everyone. Can you hear me?
Hey, we can hear you fine. You sound great.
Right, awesome. So first of all, I wanted to speak actually directly to a lot of you, because I know a lot of you comforted me, Mom, in the last few days and weeks, either directly by being there or, by letting her know that you were, through all the daughters and such, that you were thinking of her. And I wanted to thank everyone specifically for that. I am Price. Some of you might have known me as Dustin. I am Mima's second oldest grandson, or second oldest grandchild, rather, oldest grandson. And so the last few days are the only time in my life that I remember without Mima. She and Papa are fixtures of my early memories in their gray house across from Calvary Church in Flint. I had a little small yard off the side, and at least in my memory, frequently Sonia's, a small black Toyota out front. I played my first game of Monopoly in that living room, and I won. After which I clearly remember being taught the phrase beginner's luck. One of the many additions to my vocabulary that came directly from Mima. I was probably 5 years old at the time. Games of Yahtzee quickly followed in that living room. And then, of course, Boggle, Scrabble, Mima, as everyone has said, passed on her love for the word just everywhere she went. I also recall that I had two favorite movies in those days. They were Scamper the Penguin and The Little Fox. After about 500 viewings of each, many of which Mima actually somehow sat through with me. I'm not sure how that happened. It was partially because I insisted, I'm sure, but we mutually agreed that The Little Fox was better, and because it dealt with more mature themes and themes such as death. I learned a great deal from Mima during those early days, 30 years ago, many of which I think are too deep to express because I don't remember a time before them. They're just part of me. I connect her with my first forays into writing, reading, art, games, all things that are important to me to this day. She empowered my formative imagination. I think she, before anyone else, saw I had an affinity for the creative, or at least she's the first person I remember encouraging me to actually challenge myself and others using that creativity. And she never stopped challenging me, and I was hungry for each challenge that she gave. As I remember, I clearly remember her giving me Orson Scott Card to read in 5th grade, Ender's Game, which in retrospect, I think was a dubious decision, but it worked out. And due to her uplifting, I never accepted phantom limits impressed on me by the world. I knew I could do better, do more, because Mima proved I could every time I conversed with her, every time I interacted with her. She challenged me and proved I could do more. And in her way, Mima herself gave me many pieces of a key, which I could later use to unlock my freedom. We didn't always agree, Mima and I, and that was wonderful. She loved to debate, and I happily honed my thinking against hers. And this is important to me. When I think back, I'm shocked, actually, to discover how rarely, if ever, I think she needed me to agree with her in those debates. In sharp opposition to most of my life at the time, she merely expressed her opinions, strong though they were, and left the processing of the debate to me. I was free to disagree if I dared. And thanks to her, I dared often. I hope and I do believe she found the same joy in our conversations as I did. In any case, I know for sure that she gave me the confidence to look at the world with a critical eye. She taught me the root skills that I believe our world requires to become a better place. Those being the confidence to call out, to seek the truth, and to call out falsehoods where you find them. So there's a theme in all this, which is that Mima gave. She gave and she gave to me, and as everyone here has reported, one insight or opportunity after another for my entire life. Her blazing love was a bedrock understanding for me. While I struggled through the adversity of becoming myself, I knew it was there waiting for me. When I faltered, it did not once. I hear the Pinocchio poem shared just today, and I hear the Mima I knew in the words, the vulnerability Mima fought with, the pride and the fear of letting others down. I fought those things too. Maybe that's why we were such a good pair, even when I was young. And I'm not sure Mima ever felt like she was real. But I know at 35 and after many years of doubt that I am. And that's one more thing Mima gave me. Maybe the most important thing. I have no doubt I wouldn't be at this point in my life without her. I could never give back to Mima what she gave to me, but I don't think she expected me to. She expected me to live, to grow, and to challenge, to take what she'd given me out into the world, off on my own as she waited thanklessly for me to return and tell her how it went. And when I did, I knew there would be Mima's pancakes, Mima's applesauce, conversation, laughter, and I love yous in abundance. And off we'd go back into the world. So this is no longer the same world without Mima to return to. But that's okay. Mima herself gave me all the tools to make it okay in time. In my heart, she'll always be waiting for me to return when the time is right. With Mima's pancakes, Mima's applesauce, conversation, laughter, and I love yous in abundance. And I can't wait to tell her how it went. And until then, Lord willing and the creek don't rise, off we go back into the world. Thank you, Mima.
Thank you, Dustin. That was beautiful.
Evangeline, I believe that Mama's friend Ruth would like to say a word.
Okay.
Can we unmute her, or should we? We were going to try to have an online time when we can all share after, while you all that are there in person go to the graveside. John and I are going to stay on the Zoom call so that we can chat with anyone who wants to share stories.
That'll be recorded, right?
Yes.
Okay, Ruth, I believe you are unmuted.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. I had really not planned to say anything, but I just can't hold it back. This has been so tremendous, and Patty and I became joined at the hip back in 1948 when we were in the 5th grade together. That was a long time ago, and immediately we became such fast friends, and we were that way all until now, even though we didn't spend a lot of time together in these later 40 years, simply because we were so far apart in space. But she was never far apart from my heart. And every time we had the chance to talk or be together in any way at all, it was just like we had never been apart. And I'm going to miss knowing she's still in this world. Now that she's not here, I will never change in how much I love her and feel about her. And we had a lot of wonderful opportunities together, and some of the silliest things that I wouldn't even tell you how silly they were. But we played ukuleles together, and we sang "I'm an Old Cowhand," and we walked the hills where her dad's hunting lodge was. And we just had such a good time everywhere we went. We told stories, we laughed, we just dreamed about the future. And it was just such a friendship, and I've never had a friendship like that since, and I don't think I ever will. And I look forward to the time when I do get to see her again. And for all of you family, I've known all the girls, and of course you're all been married since then, and different events in your lives. And I wish I could see you all in person again, but space sometimes keeps that from happening. But I'm just so glad I was known about this and that I was able to be a party to it. And it has meant so much to me. I just cannot tell you. And even though I haven't talked to or seen you for a long time, I love you all, and looking forward to that day when we all are together. And thank you for letting me just get a few words in here. I appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you, Ruth. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, Ruth. I wanted to say something about Ruth. When I was born, My mother was trying to figure out what to name me. And after much thought and pondering, she finally decided to name me Melody Ruth. Melody part comes from the fact that Ruth is a professional musician and has been for most of her life. She plays many instruments and sings beautifully. And of course, Ruth is Ruth. That's her name. So anyway, I just thought that was kind of a special thing. And I love you, Ruth. I'm so glad you're here today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
My name is Heidi. I am Melody's daughter. I'm the oldest grandchild. I was very blessed when I was young to spend a lot of time with her. And I still have my grade 8 in the book that she gave me when I was very little for my birthday with her handwritten note in front. And my Christopher Robin, that she gave me that my mom read to me pretty nice. And I'll always have those movies with her. And I'll always remember her reading C.S. Lewis this summer that I went and stayed with her in Michigan. I didn't get to live with her like some of my friends did, but she was very special to me. Taught me love books and games and creativity for sure, just like everyone else. And this year, I became a grandmother, and I really cherish what she instilled in me, and I hope that I sit down to my grandchildren. And I'm just very thankful that I was able to call her my grandma.
I'm gonna keep it short, even though I inherited my grandmother's love for words and quantity way too much. I also know that she does not appreciate redundancy, so short.
You are.
I'm Christine. Well, here formerly Reed. Using the fourth oldest version of Saturday. Yeah. Okay, there we go. All right. So I just have a few really quick clips and notes, just things that pop in my mind when I think of grandma. And then I want to read something. But I don't know if anybody else has it this way, but she's on my phone as great white grandmother. Okay, cool, good. That was her request that she be in there as that. So she will forever be in there as her grandmother. One of the biggest memories I have of her as a kid, other than board games and Chinese shepherds and all that, was the stuffed animals. Because there was just this magic. I don't know how she did it, but she convinced me that they were magical. And then, like, every one of them had a name and a backstory, and you knew them, and you felt like they heard you. And I feel like I carried that with me my entire life, just in appreciation of that ethereal aspect of the world. That there is so much fairy tale like that we don't think about. And her, ironically, in her realism, that is one thing she passed on to. She also, there are a couple of phrases that I use on occasion still, like in the creeps in my eyes. One of them is when somebody's just going off and they're a little crazy, that their cheese slid off the cracker. And the other one is that when she was done with something and she was happy with it, she would say, "I'm sufficiently satisfied." And more would be superfluous. And my dad would always mess it up on purpose and say, Sometimes it hated, and I would drive her crazy because he was a and she had it perfect. But yeah, and I also always remember that she had that LASIK surgery at one point, and you could always, after that, I could always see in her eye the little reflection. So it went from a metaphorical twinkle in her eye to literally every time I looked at her, there was a little twinkle in her eye. Like, oh, that's so appropriate for her. The other thing that I want to read is something that we actually found. Okay, we were going through her photos, and it's a poem that Lee wrote to her. So I was allowed privilege of reading that, getting to share some of her sisters. Oh, sorry, some of her daughter's words too. The title is just our poem. Diamonds and pearls under pressure are formed, and our family is no exception. If you look closely at each circumstance, you'll find beauty in our imperfection. What do you get when you cross a strong man with one very intricate lady, then blend in their kids and shake them all up and hope the results are like Brady? Your diamonds and pearls are your 6 lovely girls, with one poor boy in the middle, who all turned out well and in love tried to dwell, and it turns out to be quite a little. The first year together, we all fell apart as crazy as barn bats in flight. Why you hung in is the mystery to us. How brave just to keep up the fight. We must have prayed daily for your hurting brood. Unless you were taking some drugs, because we know now that we're not sure quite how not a one of us turned into thugs. It's hard to imagine now all of that pain, the lightning fast conflict and change that a house full of youngsters, angry and scared, without meaning to, seems to arrange. We all realize now with the greatest respect the things that you had to put up with. Not to mention the loss of the illusions of strength that ubiquitous parenting myth, that you never gave up on each other or us, not now and not way back then, convinces us just what true treasures you are and pulls us together again. We'd like to tell you in this special year how much of a difference you've made. Your steadfast commitment to marriage and God is a model that we never trade. So though we can't give you real diamonds and pearls, we can give you something of worth. We honor the legacy you've left in us, continuing on with each birth. Your children and grandchildren and your great grands, forgetting our heart-in-law throne, celebrate you in the best way we know, with pictures and love and song.
I just have a quick word to say. I'm Nehemiah Baldwin, and I'm realizing just how much time that Grandma gave to every single one of us. And I remember when she came to live with us when I was probably 8 or 9 years old. She and my parents gave us strict orders not to go into her side of the house because she did not want a bunch of little kids running around in her space. But I learned about Grandma that she enjoyed baseball, and she had this one pitcher. His name was Tim Lincecum on the San Francisco Giants. She loved him. She loved his hair specifically. He's nicknamed the Freak because he has hair down here, and she just loved watching it for some reason. And I was getting into baseball at that time, and I thought, hey, maybe I can ask her if I can watch baseball with her sometime. And so I remember the first time I walked into her hallway, about to knock on the door, and I was so scared because I thought she was this big, scary grandmother who was just going to turn me away and slam the door in my face. But she let me in, and she let me watch baseball. And obviously, there's 162 baseball games in a year, and as many as I was allowed to watch, she would let me watch. She never kicked me out. She fed me lemon meringue pie. She would just make it my home. That couch, I spent hours and hours and hours just sitting on that couch watching baseball, and she would watch with me, and that was the best part. So I just love to hear the stories that Grandma has given to each and every one of us, because she just gave so much of her life to us, and it's a special thing to hear it all at one time in one place, all you wonderful people. So that's all I wanted to say. So I'm Zach, Tracy's husband, and if I describe grandma using one word, I would say she has spunk. Coming after moving down to Texas not long after I was deployed for 9 months, coming back with some challenges I was not expecting, and it probably one of the hardest difficult times of my life. And Tracy was actually at a dance studio working 2 nights a week in the evening. So after I got out of work, I would go to her house and she would make dinner for me and we'd spend a lot of time together. And oftentimes I was trying to figure out what was going on in my life because I would never expect anything like this to happen before. And she told me, she said, Zach, I can't tell you what to do. I can't tell you how to act, what to think, and how to behave. But she said, I'm here for you. And I spent hours and hours on her couch trying to talk to her, trying to get what was on my head, just voice it. Every time we sat there crying. And I'll never forget that. It meant a lot and definitely helped me get through. And when Tracy and I were dating a couple of years ago, we were getting together for some family get together. And I had black on that day, I was wearing black. And Tracy said, you look nice in black. And I told her, I said, I really don't like wearing black. Black is my least favorite color to wear. Don't like it at all. And grandma happened to hear me say that. And she grabbed my elbow right here and she squeezed it real close, pulled me in and said, honey, black is sexy. So now I'm just telling you about me.
He wants to follow back.
My grandma, the only grandma that I ever got to know, the only grandparent I really knew, one of the most precious and wise people I've ever met. And oftentimes, whenever she'd live with us, I'd go over to her house and I would hang out with her and she would, a lot of times, impart just wisdom to me, and I often like to write them down because I was like, this is amazing. You're so wise. And I wanted to share one of the things that she told me. She said it took her till 50 to learn to drop the shoulds and the oughts and learn to be herself. She told me there's only one Rebecca. The world is a giant pencil, and each person is their own unique self. No one else thinks like you or has your chromosomes. If you are not you, then the world is missing a piece of its puzzle. And you can't really enjoy that puzzle because part of it is missing. If you constantly live by the shoulds and oughts, then you can never really be you. And I felt like that was just described herself, because she was always herself, could always come grandma to be there and tell you what she thought. No matter if you agree with it or not, she's gonna tell you. And I had one more thing I wanted to share that I wrote about her. She loved to tell stories, and one of the stories she told was about a person that she lived close to, and that she always felt a little bit, she felt like they were better than her in some ways. And so this is my interpretation of how I felt she felt and how I would respond to her in that story. And so the perfect one. She's the one everyone wanted to be, the perfect mother, wife. She was giving and compassionate. They called her the perfect one, the one to watch, an idol of sorts to some. Like a perfect shade you find on a swatch. Some look up to her, almost like a second mother. But some looked up to her and thought, wow, she is a better mother. Looking up to her and down on herself were her achievements on the shelf. And because she was looking at what this person had done, she failed to see how far she had come. She thought, she's so perfect in every way. How can I ever live up to the bar that she laid? And my dear, you don't see, though you wouldn't be better if you were she. You were placed in your body for your own personal reason. And you will do what it takes through through every time, day, and season. You are strong and courageous and exactly what your little ones need. And even when they're grown, they will still come to you, their troubles to heed. She learned how to parent, no example to back. She was single and mothering her large little pack. 5 girls is a lot, with 2 commander-in-chiefs. But some might say it's impossible for just one to keep. And she did it anyways. Necessity required it, and even after many painful days, her children came back and thanked her for it. She lit a path and paved a way for her children to make it farther than she may. And her stories and regrets to this day inspire people to try and not be not themselves. Because you are you, and because you are you, and while it's fine to have inspiration, when it comes to your identity, that has no inspiration.
The man jumped the rest of the building.
Hold on.
Do we have,
Somebody is
how many grandchildren?
unmuted. Here we go.
Yes.
1, 2, 3. Okay, let's do that and we will be wrapping up.
My name is Annie Swan. I'm a daughter of the youngest child of the sister's grandma's daughters. And I didn't get to spend a lot of time with grandma because we didn't live with her. Come closer. We didn't get to live with her. But I have a lot of good memories from every time we visited. We played Boggle and even played Boggle long distance. I would write down the Boggle puzzle and I would send it to her, and she would align the Boggle puzzle to our Boggle puzzle, and we'd play over a week and see if we get more words. And then she'd get on me to misspell words. And one of the reasons why I worked so hard on spelling is because I really liked playing Boggle with her. She was always there, even though we weren't around her a lot. I sent her a paper once or a couple of times, and she always would edit it and give me feedback. One short story I sent her to look at, I got it back. It was all double spaced after period. I'm like, Grandma, why did you double space after periods? She's like, that's just the way you do it. I've never heard of it double space after a period. And so it took me down a rabbit hole of looking up why that particular thing was something she did. And it's apparently a typewriter thing, where they used to teach double spacing after a period on typewriters. And that just took me down a whole rabbit hole of learning old ways things are written, and I loved it. It inspired me to look up things and sort of research things. She was always such a researcher. She always knew a little bit about everything or had something to say when I wanted to talk about something. A couple people mentioned she loved to debate, and I loved to kind of spar back and forth with her on things. I didn't get to do it a lot, but there are very few people I've ever met who are okay with you. Like I said, that okay if you disagree with them. And she was okay with you not agreeing with her. You could argue back and forth and walk out of it best friends. And there was no hurt feelings or anything, which is so rare to find. Mom's story about pajamas, that story, she told me that story and the reasons why Grandma wanted her to wear pajamas. And that, when I was about 12, is why I wear pajamas today. Because I took my mom, I didn't wear pajamas. And even though I don't think that ever quite sunk in for Mom, but apparently when I was 12, it just stuck. To this day, I still wear pajamas because Grandma's no longer wear pajamas. And she does so much, even though I didn't spend a lot of time with her, so much of who she was ended up becoming a part of who I am. Either through things she taught my mom, and my aunts, cousins that got given, that I picked up, or some things I heard from her. She always gave me good book suggestions and things to read. One time I was visiting Michigan, she made me sit down on the couch and watch like 4 or 5 episodes of Matlock with her. Yeah. And I didn't know that existed until she sat me down and made me watch it. And she was like a little Amazon X-ray background. She's telling, she paused and telling me all the facts about everyone in the scene and everything that was happening. And I still do that, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. I do that when I watch movies with people. And I loved it because I loved all that extra stuff she had. And she just had such an energy about everything she did. She was so passionate about everything she did. She gave me my first CD I'd ever owned, and that feels old now because I don't really buy CDs anymore. She gave me my first CD. It was a really cute note. I wish I kept it. I don't think I still had it. I think it fell in the CD case. She gave me my first CD. She was just such a little spitfire and an inspiration every time I talked to her. And I hope so many of those good traits and those fond memories and things I can grow into and be part of that, because she's just such an incredible person. And I enjoyed all my time with her.
Hi, so I'm Emma Swan. I'm her sister and the daughter of Summer Swan, her youngest daughter. Grandma, she made a really big impact in my life. I remember one time I was like 10 and she was like, "What's your favorite subject in school?" I'm like, I don't know, cursive. And she's like, "Can you draw?" I'm like, "No." I'm like, "I draw stick figures. I cannot do that." And she's like, "Sit in this chair and draw my chair." And I was, as a little kid, I was like equally very admired her and was also very terrified of her. So I'm like, I gotta impress Grandma. So I drew her chair and she's like, and she looks at it and she's like, okay. So she takes a card, she has a little life picture of a wolf. It's a real wolf. She sits there and to draw the wolf. And so I sit there and I draw the wolf. And after I drew the wolf, she got so excited. She went down and she showed everybody in the house. And she was so proud of the picture. And that's when I learned I could do art. And so that led me to a whole avenue like doing art stuff, which is now one of my favorite things to do. And so she taught me if you really try at anything, if you put your best into anything, you can actually achieve whatever you want to achieve. So I actually have a song that I wrote a couple of years ago that is for people that I've lost in my life. And so I have a little part of that song that I want to sing for you guys. If you do that. Yeah, I have to do this.
I'll do that.
I hope that God gives you a halo, and I hope that He gives you two wings. And knowing every man in the world, if that means show me that watching over me. And I know you seem far away, farther than I can see. But I'll catch up to you someday. You'll be there right beside me. And I hope that God gives you a halo. I hope that He gives you two wings. Knowing every man in the world, if that means show me that you know about me.
Hi, so my name is Joshua Reed and I am grandma's second daughter's fourth child. I'm not gonna try to tell you what number grandchild I am, because I have no idea. But it's, wow, it is so clear to me, listening to everyone hear just how much grandma loves her family. She gave so much all the time. She loved unselfishly, and I didn't always realize it in the moment, but looking back on it now, she spent so much time just thinking of praying for, investing in the lives of all of her grandkids and her actual children. She loved cards and she loved giving cards, and they were very heartfelt, and she kept a lot of her cards that were given to her, and that was very important to her, that family connection there. She remembered everybody's birth dates, and made a point of letting them know, hey, I'm thinking of you and I love you. And she not only gave to her family, she gave to everyone that she came in contact with. She lived with us for quite a while on our property, and we have some farmhands there that work full time. And she loved them so much, she would make them lemon meringue pies all the time, and she would share applesauce, and that was a bonding thing for them because they both shared a lot of food and sharing food. And the guys, when they knew what was going on, and towards the end of her life, and they heard, they were very sad, and they felt it with us. She was just amazing. I could go on about my own personal memories with her. Just little things that I remember, like when I was growing up and we would play Chinese checkers, and I would impulsively try to go for my turn as soon as I saw something that was available, and sometimes I would be out of turn doing it, and she would slap my hand. And I remember writing my first story. Very first story, it was terrible. It was like a paragraph, and I was like, there was good guys and there was bad guys, and they were fighting, and the bad guys were winning. And I was so excited, I wanted to show my grandma, and so she graciously came and read through my story for me, and she was very honest and gave some critical feedback. But she passed that on to me, a lot of stories, and to all of us, I think, creativity, words. And one thing that I wanted to share today is, how many of you know Grandma as just one of the best storytellers you've ever encountered? Yeah, me too. I remember so many of her stories and just being on the edge of my seat while she was sharing them. And one of my most recent memories was on February 15th, her birthday, last year. I had some friends over, about five of my close friends, and she was gracious enough to let them stay for her birthday celebration at night. And so we were eating cake and enjoying ourselves. And she, of course, is a hoot to have with a party because she will tell the best stories and make everybody laugh. And she did just that. We asked her to tell the story about her running away, which I'm sure some of you know. And she did, and she had all of my friends in stitches, and they were laughing. And one of my friends has an extremely loud laugh, like she just lets it loose. And my grandma turned, I think was it to you? But
No, just to everybody.
she just kind of turned to everybody and said, "Who let the hyenas out?" And that just made them laugh harder. But during the process of telling a story, I didn't know this until later, but my friend Jack, he's a songwriter, and he realized just what incredible song potential my grandma's life has. And so he went off and wrote a song about the story that she told about her running away. And so I want to share that song with you guys definitely today. It's beautiful. If we have time, do you think you could share the story real quick? It's my favorite story that she tells.
I will never tell it like her, but the long story, for those who've never heard the running away story, she was 12 years old. She wanted to go see her aunt in Oregon, and she decided to save her money over the summer. She saved up like $12, and that's all. And she couldn't get a train ticket for that, so she very quietly one night slipped 20s out of her dad's wallet and replaced them with ones. And she got herself all set with her suitcase hidden behind the bush, and she snuck out, in the wee hours of the morning, like before it was daylight and nobody could really see her. And she wore a very conspicuous outfit with a red belt, red buttons, gray dress, and high heel shoes at 12 years old. And made it, got a taxi, got herself down to the train station, and bought herself a ticket to wherever she needed to go in Oregon, and got on the train. So by the time her parents figured out what was going on, the train was gone. And they finally, she had planned it so that she had all of her Roy Rogers comic books in her suitcase. The thing was so heavy that she had to have help lifting it up onto the rack. And she planned to change clothes once she got on the train, so that nobody would be able to recognize her. She'd be very conspicuous, but then she'd change into plain clothes. She had it all planned, but she was so tired from lugging that suitcase, she didn't change clothes. And so when her parents realized she was gone and somehow had a clue where she went, the policeman came down on the train and they tagged her at the next stop. She remembers being so disappointed that she didn't even make it out of Virginia. She wanted to make it to Oregon, but at 12 years old. And the only thing her dad said to her about all that was, next time you just ask me for the money, don't just take it out. That was a really, yeah. So anyway, that's the story that this song was written on, and so.
Yeah, so here it is. It's called Patsy, and yeah, enjoy.
Patsy, California bound before you. Red dress on a high heel shoe. Oh, what could go wrong? Who knew Patsy made your great escape before the dawn? Cops were on your trail before long, but you didn't care at all. You ran away. So tell me the story about the good old days. Paint me a picture, no words always. What was it like, your adolescent phase? Tell me why you ran away. I see 100 chains couldn't slow you down. Head in the sky, the feet on the ground. Still small, but your dreams are loud, louder every day. So tell me the story about the good old days. Paint me a picture, no words go to waste. What was it like, your adolescent phase? And tell boulevard or night the town every night until you're dead. It was adventure, it was family, but unfortunately it's a tragedy when you can't make it out of your home city. And that's why you ran away. So tell me a story about the good old days. Paint me a picture that no words could relate. So what was it like, your adolescent phase? And tell me why you ran away. You ran away.
Yeah, so that was his song, and when he showed it to Grandma, because she did get to hear it, her comment was something like, "Well, actually, the dress wasn't red; it was the shoes, or something like that." I'm like, yeah, that's Grandma. And so yeah, I wanted to share that because it shows just how far Grandma's reach was, just how many people she impacted with her life and her story. And I've heard Jack sing that song in front of audiences, probably more than 100 people. And so her story is going everywhere across the world. And we carry it with us, obviously, but it's good to see it in art form like that. And a couple lines in that song that I wanted to highlight that really meant a lot to me were in the chorus. He says, tell me a story about the good old days. Paint me a picture and let no words go to waste. And Grandma let no words go to waste. And yeah, she let no words go to waste. And I hope that we will let none of our memories of her go to waste in the future. Yeah.
Wow, folks, a life well lived deserves some stories. And I want to thank you. I know it's been a long time to sit. You've been faithful to listen to the stories. We started talking about the fact that we want to mourn with those who mourn, and we want to celebrate with those who celebrate. So that song was a little celebration, Josh. Thank you very much. I'm going to read one verse, and then I think, Sonia, you're going to be our final send-off. I'm going to have just a couple words of instruction, and that's it. So to tie a bow on this from the Lord's perspective, the psalm writer David in 103 says, "Bless the Lord, O my soul, and forget not all his benefits, who redeems your life from the pit, who crowns you with steadfast love and mercy, who satisfies you with good, so that your youth is renewed like the eagles." And the story goes on to the next generation. So we love you, Lord. Patty, I love you. And it's been good. It's been good. Today's been good as well. So for the friends on Zoom, I think you may have heard it earlier, Melody mentioned, there's going to be a little time because we're going to the cemetery now. But you've got some stories to tell. Those are going to be recorded additionally for the family, is my understanding. So I hope you can continue to do that a little bit. And I don't know if anybody here else, we're going to drive separately to the cemetery on Beecher Road. Bendel Cemetery on Beecher Road, just outside of Flushing. And it's the address, I guess, is on the back of the handout to the bulletin if you have that and if you're intending to go. And then after that, we're going to go proceed there, have the burial ceremony. That'll be fairly brief, just a few scriptures, and that's about it. And we're going to come back, and there will be a dinner for anybody who would like to be here. I'd like to thank St. Martin's Lutheran Church around the corner. The pastor's wife is actually upstairs watching our little babies right now, along with her two daughters. We need people like that as servants in our life. They've graciously volunteered to bring food to feed, I think, even up to as many as 100 people. So we're gonna have plenty of food. So that'll be around, I don't know where we at, 5:30-ish is my guess right now. So love you guys. Thank you. And I think Sonia is gonna send us out with one last word.
With one last song too, so Joshua. Look that on your phone, yeah, just so you want to set that up. I did want to say too, Mama attended a Chabad house here when she was in Michigan, and she met a rabbi and his wife named Rabbi Weingarten and Shani, and she absolutely adored this rabbi and his wife, and spent some time studying with them and learning from them. And they couldn't be here today because today is Shabbat, and of course they don't work on Shabbat. And so they will be tomorrow at the gravesite. And if you would like to be there, just let me know. I think we'll probably do it at 2 in case anybody wants to come after church. And Rabbi Weingarten and his wife Shani will be saying some special Jewish prayers, which will be really precious to Grandma to hear that. But one of Grandma's friends said that as she was sharing the songs with us, that she thought that Grandma would like. She shared that Grandma twice a day prayed the Shema, which is, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is our God, the Lord is one. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. And these words which I command you today shall be upon your heart. You shall teach them thoroughly to your children, and you shall speak of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk in the road, and when you lie down, and when you rise. You shall bind them as a sign upon your hand, and they shall be as a reminder between your eyes, and you shall write them upon the doorposts of your house and upon your gates." Can you give me my phone real quick? And there's one more thing we discovered when we brought Grandma's printer over here to print these bulletins. And on the side of her printer, and this is just like Grandma, and this includes most of you in this room, was this little saying. Oh, hold on. Did so many videos earlier. Let me make sure. Okay. So this was on taped on the side of her printer. It actually had an error on it crossed out, which I'm surprised she did not replace that piece of paper because it had an error on it. But Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, which means, "Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe." Hashem, which is her word for God. Hashem, I ask you to lovingly draw my daughters, their children, and my grandchildren, all the fruit of my body, closer to you. Please send God-fearers into their lives and bless them with the mental and physical health, peace, and safety as you lovingly draw them closer to you. And I just take that as Grandma's last prayer over all of us. And we're going to play her version of what she would sing twice a day, just so that you can hear it. It's really beautiful. Alice sent it to us. And my prayer over you before we dismiss is, may Adonai bless you and keep you. May Adonai make his face to shine upon you and show you his favor. May Adonai lift up his face to you and give you peace.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto Leolam Vaed.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you for coming. If you haven't signed the guest book, we would love that. And we are going to have the pallbearers, pallbearers going first.
Yeah, if I can have the pallbearers gathered here, and then we will get in our vehicles and head on over to the cemetery. I see a little place back there.
Okay, Evangeline,
Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to speak to those that are online on the Zoom call. Anyone who wants to, for a little while, we were going to take a little break, maybe 20 minutes, and then John and I will come back and we can share more stories about Mom if we want to. And we'll just stay here as long as anybody wants to.
Okay, Mel,
Yes.
I need to transfer to you. Somehow, let's see, make you the host. Make co-host. So, yeah, so that you can continue the meeting without me. Okay, so.
Okay, so even though your phone is going with you, the Zoom meeting will stay here.
I'm hoping so, yes.
I hope so. If not, I will set up a separate Zoom meeting.
Yeah, I left it, I may just leave my computer here. I don't know how safe that is, but I started it on my computer. So, let's see.
Well, I don't know about anybody else, but I need just a little break, maybe 15 minutes or so. Go grab some more water or whatever you're drinking or eating. And take care of other things.
I'm gonna pause.
Because
Uh-oh.
if
I gotta watch myself now.
Oh, I was trying to be sneaky there. Hi, Price.
Welcome back, Price.
Hey,
Glad you
thank
joined
you.
us. We took a
It's
break.
nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
I don't know if you heard who I am, but I'm Sonia's assistant.
Okay, no, I had not, but nice to meet you.
That's who I am.
I thought your name was Dustin. I remember you from years ago.
Yeah,
changed
my given name is Dustin, but it's Dustin Price. So
Okay,
I just go
okay.
by Price now. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, it was so
Right.
funny when I was writing the obituary. I didn't know how to, to refer to you because I didn't.
Fine.
Price, I
Was
didn't-
that your work? The obituary? I did read it.
was.
Oh wow. Yeah, that was very well done. That's
Outstanding. Outstanding.
Joey, my wife, was saying, like, I've never seen an obituary like
I've
this.
got it on.
Well,
But anyway,
that's
we just kind of.
the second time that I've written an obituary. The first time was in 2017 when John's only child, Leslie, passed away. We
Oh no.
we had to lay her to rest, but of course we couldn't do it. We were wiped out for like 3 months. So we waited until she died in September 1st, and we didn't have her memorial until, I don't know.
She
close to
died right after
Thanksgiving.
the giant flood.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
wrote my mom's too.
So
I
anyway,
wrote my mom passed 2 years ago. I wrote hers.
yes, it's very difficult. It's very difficult, especially with Mom, because 83 years. How do you compact that into,
My mom was 82.
Yeah, just a few pages. That's
Me and Mel have been crying this whole time. I was very, very close.
You know, I'm gonna cry. I'll probably cry telling my story, but
well, I'm
I'm
gonna
gonna
wait.
start my story. Since you started recording, I'm gonna start my story.
Okay, well, you go ahead. Go ahead.
I met your mom once in Houston when Sonia went there to do a blast training. And I walked your mom from Evangeline's house to her cottage. Because in my mind, you can't let an old person walk by themselves. Now your mom did that all the time. But when I was there, it was like, no, you're not gonna. And she talked to me and treated me just like I was one of the kids, and I liked it. Well, fast forward a bit, Sonia decided that I was going to send monthly installments to her mom. And I would call her to tell her when the money would get into the bank. And I looked forward to that time more than almost anything, because I'd call her and she'd have this great joyful voice and she'd go, Sonia's Julie. I know what you're going to tell me. I said, well, maybe you don't. I said, well, maybe you don't. I could change it up. Well, it would get to the first time I talked for like a minute, 2 minutes, then a half an hour, then 45 minutes. Then I'd shut my office door and talk all afternoon. Yeah, I think the longest we ever actually talked was like an hour and a half. But we would talk about everything.
Right.
There was nothing that was off limits.
That's right.
And we'd talk about our different beliefs and we'd talk about where I didn't agree. And was it you, Price, that talked about it didn't matter whether you agreed or not?
Yeah. Yeah.
That was so true. She didn't care.
That's where
She
the
just
tolerance.
she loved to hear what your opinion was and what you had to say. And we were talking about one time we were talking about reincarnation and eternity in heaven. And I said, man, I cannot picture myself in a choir robe with a harp for eternity. I said, I just cannot know. I'm not going to be happy doing that. And I told her about this thing that I think, whether I made it up or where it came from, I don't know, but that you're a baby and you're up there and you get to pick the life you're going down to, and you get to just keep coming back down here like it's a game, like it's fun, right? Well, she goes, now, honey, I've never seen a scriptural version of that. I've never seen it in scripture. It's like, I haven't either. I don't know why I think that. And she says, well, you look it up and call me. And then I said, since it's not in there, maybe we'll just have to wait till one of us gets there, and we can send it down to the other one. Like, this is what we're going to do. And when she was passing and everybody was there and they were talking, saying goodbye, the girls Olivia asked me, do you want to talk to Grandma? And I thought, no, because the only thing I would have said to her is, dude, you're getting there before me. You're going to have to find a way to tell me if I'm right.
Wow.
And I'm going to miss that 1 hour a month when I used to take every bit of it. She would call me up to snitch on Sonia.
That doesn't.
She said, I can't get a hold of my daughter. Is she home? Yeah, she's on the phone.
Well, she knows that you're there. See, Julie works for Sonia, and they work from home. So they whole setup.
She'd be like, "Is she eating? Yes, Mom. Okay, is she resting? Yes, Mom. You tell her I said, yes, Mom. And one time I said, no, she needs you to call her and tell her what to do. And she did. Oh, I loved her. I loved that she loved the best in me. And I love that she always saw it. And I love that she got all of that from one walk from Evangeline Cottage to her house, and then an hour a month on the phone.
Yeah.
I wish I could be there to wave goodbye and say goodbye and listen to everybody who's sitting around that room right now, telling little stories.
Right.
She was amazing.
Yes, she absolutely is.
I would not want to be on her bad side though. Never saw it, never even heard it, but I wouldn't want to be there.
Yeah, she didn't have much of a bad side.
Go ahead.
And I grew up under her, so.
I was just sitting here thinking when Julie was telling the story that I cannot remember one single disagreement that Patty and I had through all the years that we knew each other and were, like I say, joined at the hip. We went everywhere together. And if I wasn't spending the night with her, she was spending the night with me. And but I cannot remember ever disagreeing about anything. So, and I wasn't back in time, Julie, to hear you tell what the argument was, or not argument, but the disagreement about whether something was in the Bible or not. Can you just give me a sentence of what that was?
I had this thought that when you're in heaven, because I don't want to be a choir singer forever. I just can't do it. So I told her that I had this thought in my head that babies, that your soul, you get up there and you sit down with God and you say, okay, this time I want to go down there, and this time I want to be rich, and I want to be healthy, and I want to be thin, and I want, and I want to have 15 kids. And I mean, just you get to pick your life, and you get to pick your trials, and you get to pick all the stuff you have to overcome, and you get to pick the stuff you want to learn this time. And then you say, okay, and I want that one to be my mom, and there you go. She says, no, I don't think that's right. That's not in scripture. And I'm like, okay, but
Yeah,
that's,
she was very, if it wasn't in scripture, wasn't interested in it when we were growing.
Well, she and I, we would have conversations like that about things that were, and we both would say that, well, if it's not in the Bible, I'm not going to believe it. But it's funny how a lot of people, and not everybody is raised in a home where the Bible is taught and lived by and all of that.
True. Yeah.
So it's interesting to get other viewpoints, but it's good then to be able to find it in the Bible and know it is true or not true. So
my father wasn't baptized until after my mom passed, and my mom passed 2 years ago.
oh,
My dad just became Christian.
oh my goodness, wow.
That's
Wow.
great, though. That's
It's a
good.
good time to
Excuse me just a minute.
good
I'll
time
be
to
right
make
back.
that decision with the world going to
Well, before you die is a good time.
oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Melanie, I wanted to just say a little thing here.
I knew you had a story for us, Ivis.
I don't really have a story, but you had mentioned earlier, I don't know if Dustin Price or Price Dustin, which is your name?
Just Price. I go by Price now.
Price. Okay, I'll have to, because Patty never told me it was changed to Price.
I know it was Dustin Price. That's his
Okay.
Yeah, that's my full given name is Dustin Price.
Got it. I like them both, all of them. Baldwin too. Anyway, bottom line, Patty, I keep wanting to say Dustin. Price was.
It's not a problem.
Okay. Patty and Dan, as Melody had said, and the 5 girls lived across the street. And when we moved in here in 1976 or so, do you know who first came over to my, the house was empty. I mean, we had just, boxes. And there was a knock on the door, and it was Patty. And Patty had a pie in her hand. I love pies. And she said, I'm your neighbor from across the street. And I wanted to welcome you with this pie. And I thought, and I think she also mentioned, and I go to Redeemer. You may not have seen me there, but because I'm kind of irregular, and I go and I thought, wow, how exciting. Of course, I just brought her in and everything. And so from that day on to the present moment, I always felt really connected to your mama, to your grandmother.
She and her pies. I said she and her pies. She won over the whole work crew that Tom and Angel have at their 70-acre ranch. They have a whole crew of people who help Tom with the blueberry bushes and so forth.
Yeah.
Mom got them so spoiled. She made them a pie every week. And they're mainly a Mexican crew, but the guy who leads the crew, speaks really well good English. And so he would always come by and knock on the door on that particular day when he knew there was going to be a lemon pie that Mom had made for him.
Yeah, they're good. And I don't care for cake that much. So man, that really made an impression on me.
Yeah.
Your mama, she was into Amway during that time.
Right. We all were.
Okay? Y'all all were. Yeah.
Yeah.
Too, huh, Dustin? So
I do remember that. Yeah.
Well, that was her second round in Amway. She was in Amway back when I was a baby too.
Really?
I took baths in the kitchen sink in LOC. Yeah.
LOC.
I think I remember that. Yeah. Yeah. And Sonia, because Sonia was into it at the time. I remember.
Wow.
Because I remember Sonia's house a little bit, but all I really remember is the washroom and Amway products.
I think I actually
Wow.
signed up under.
I think she
Patty.
still has some.
I think I signed up under Patty and Amway.
Oh.
I worked for
Really?
a while. And
Well,
then
she kept trying to get us to sign
Basic H.
up. Yeah, and so we'd use different products. So I had a birthday in a couple of years. I think y'all were over there, what, 4 or 5 years after we moved in?
Yeah, I think we moved in 74.
Oh,
And when I left to get married the first time, it was 78. And I don't really remember exactly what year they moved away after that, but they did move within a year or two after that. So it was either 70, 79 or 80 when they moved elsewhere.
well, after I guess it was 78 or something, or the mid-time that they were there, I had a birthday. And so my husband, Dick, who is asleep in the living room right now, he was
Oh, that funeral wore him out.
the service. Well, it was just wonderful. He loved it. Anyway, he said, please speak for me. You can speak for me. So anyway, he surprised me with a birthday gift of a whole complete set of these Amway pots and pans, stainless steel,
yeah.
waterless cooking kind of thing. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah, I had a set.
Well, I still have it and I still use it along with other things, and have even taught my son who lives with us now, Dustin, he's your age. That's why I remember you so much, because we used to talk about y'all when you were in your 20s. So anyway.
Sure.
Anyway, so she gave us, I mean, that was a real romantic gift, huh? All these wonderful pots and pans that we still have and we still use.
Yeah.
And as far as her getting on writing books and all of this, being in the, oh, this is gonna make me cry. Being in the celebration of your mama's life. At first it made me I felt like I was right there. And it made me miss her so much. I just couldn't stand it. I thought, I just want to see her right now. And as everyone went into the service more and more and started sharing, and there were so many wonderful things that were said about your mama. And they're all true. I mean, they really pinned it on her really good.
Amazing woman. I don't know how she did that with everybody, but it's like, she just had that ability, I guess.
Well, it made me see that she's already reached through several generations. 3, she's got a great. Well, she hasn't met that one.
She hasn't met him yet. She's seen pictures and seen videos of him on Facebook, but she did not have a chance to meet him in person, due to COVID, because we were going to take her with us last year, because we go every year up to see Heidi and her children and spend Christmas with them. But when the pandemic hit, we just decided to wait and see. We're going to err on the side of caution. We're not going to, and I'm glad that we didn't. But on the other hand, I'm sad that we didn't, because of course her little great grandson hadn't been born yet. He was born later last year in the fall. So yeah, little Miles Pierce.
Miles Pierce.
I don't think that your mom worried about what she didn't do. I think your mom grasped what she did and lived every minute that she lived and didn't care about what she didn't do. She didn't do it. It wasn't meant to get done.
Mm-hmm. She was very laid back in that way. And although I think, when she was younger, she had more energy, so she was able to accomplish more. But as she got older, she wasn't worried about anything that she couldn't take care of. Although she was upset with the fact that she didn't have the energy that she once did. Toward the end there, it was really, difficult for her because she'd have to go lay down, and take naps several times a day. And, you know, recharge her batteries. And she was having a bit of problem with her memory. So.
I just got a message here, and I might take off in a second.
Okay.
I'd like to FaceTime into the burial. But related to what you said, I mentioned this to my mom, and I don't know, I think I put it in the Telegram channel, so you might have seen it too. And my mom said it was comforting. I don't know if she said this to many other people or what, but she was very adamant to me that if she went, or when she went, she wanted to go quickly, and she did not want to waste away. She was very concerned about her memory going, you know, just kind of age stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah, and so she, yeah, and yeah, and so I was very glad that she had so many people close to her at the end, because she was also worried about being alone.
Right.
And
she died exactly where she wanted to be. She made that decision not to stay in the hospital.
Yeah, exactly.
Tom and Angel and the rest of the family did everything in their power to keep her with us. But we sat through an evening of agonizing pain watching her try to breathe. And that was hard. That was like watching a horror movie, you know?
Yeah.
Because when they called us, we thought she was going to go like within the next hour or so. And 12 hours later before she actually died. So, but they said she went peacefully. In the very end, there was no fight, just, you know, one last breath, and that was it.
Yeah. And I hadn't really heard, I mean, I talked to her, you know, not super long ago, but I did hear that she was starting to have some more problems. And, you know, I think, like you said, she chose it, and it would have been, I know that was in her mind, that she would have rather have gone like that than have had years of
suffering.
A different kind of suffering. And
exactly.
So so everybody, it's extremely great to meet you. I hope you have
Great to meet you too, Price.
Yeah, this is the first time we've really seen or talked to each other, I think.
Yeah, I met you briefly, I think, when I was a teenager. You had just gotten married, and I remember that. And then we were down at Evangeline's. So, but yeah, it's like the 10-minute slice. 24 years ago?
Almost.
I would have been a little guy. So, but yeah, I hopefully we'll get a chance to see you again.
Yes.
Dustin, just real quick to tell you, when your grandmother and I talked a lot about my son and you in your 20s, he's 36 now, and you're 35.
35, yeah.
Yeah, there was so much love. There was so much concern. There was so much care. And I think she was living up there in Michigan at that time, or at least visiting up there. But she was in constant touch with you. So, yeah.
Oh my goodness, look what Angel has done.
Oh,
all right.
To the burial. So you don't need to go anywhere, Dustin.
Okay, yeah, awesome. Thank you, Evangeline.
Yeah.
Mima was there in my youth, you know, there were kind of three big pillars. I had a kind of difficult childhood in a lot of ways, and there were three big pillars around me that were tremendously impactful for me in terms of getting through it, and I think in turning into who I am as opposed to somebody much worse. And Mima was one of them, and Lee Hurt was also one of them. So it's been very difficult to lose, you know, two of those pillars in such a short period of time. It would have been hard at any time, but
we were just getting started, you know, with these items and mourning her. And
guys hear that?
She said,
She said
chair
we'd like to move them around.
To socially distance, but you guys.
Okay. And everybody else just.
So I'm just gonna lay down there.
I bought 4 dozen
You're able-
roses, so that everybody there at the gravesite can, say,
Family.
throw a rose.
Oh, that's awesome.
tradition in his family as the top is being lowered. People throw roses.
Okay,
So we
which one?
bought peach colored roses, 'cause that's mom's favorite color of rose.
If you mute yourself, okay, can they mute them?
They can.
Mute our microphones. and-
Is person there?
and-
Before I
Alright,
mute Justin, it was
I
nice
was
meeting
asked if I
you.
could read a few scriptures. And before I begin, I just want to tell you all that I love you. I'm glad you were able to come. I'm going to keep this short. Can you all hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you for sharing all those stories because there were a lot of things in there that were new to me, things that I'd not heard before. How I would have known. It's just the other side of the country. So I'm grateful for that. Grateful for your fun song. That was a lot of fun. Grandma ran the gamut for me, all the way from the deep theological debates that Trinity mentioned to, I'll throw in my own contribution. Nobody mentioned that she had a crush on John Card.
Yes.
How can you believe that? And Tom Selleck.
And the baseball guy with the long hair.
And Kenny Q. And Taylor Tucker.
That's how we were gonna get her to do some therapy. We were gonna hire her really cute. And then for sure, she would make sure that she did her exercise.
I know that Grandma would appreciate our laughter. She introduced us to Garfield comics and sarcastic koozies and all kinds of good things. It's good to remember her. And I'm just going to read a couple quick passages from the Psalms. Then we will, I think the plan is to, family, I don't know how many of the roses we have, but to bring the roses over. Enough for everybody. Will we do that?
We have 40,
Do that after.
47, 48.
I feel like Haskins lower.
Melody says 48 roses. I see 48. We got the Zoom call on here, so there's.
I'm going to start with Psalm 20, and it has some significance for our family. This is a psalm that inspired a song that my mom wrote and is on one of her albums. Many of you probably know it. Psalm 20. In my Bible, the heading for the chapter is Trust in the Name of the Lord our God. May the Lord answer you in the day of trouble. May the name of the God of Jacob protect you. May he send you help from the sanctuary and give you support from Zion. May he remember all your offerings and regard with favor your burnt sacrifices. May he grant you your heart's desire and fulfill all your plans. May we shout for joy over your salvation. And in the name of our God, set up our banners. May the Lord fulfill all your petitions. Now I know that the Lord saves his anointed. He will answer him from his holy heaven with the saving might of his right hand. Some trust in chariots and some in horses, but we trust in the name of the Lord our God. They collapse and fall, but we rise and stand upright. O Lord, save the King. May he answer us when we call. On the very next page is the famous Psalm, Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. For you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, and my cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. And then I'm just going to read a portion here. From Psalm 73 that I found and wanted to share. This is what it says. Nevertheless, I am continually with you. You hold my right hand. You guide me with your counsel, and afterward you will receive me to glory. Whom have I in heaven but you? And there is nothing on earth that I desire besides you. My flesh and my heart may fail, but God is the strength of my heart and my portion forever. For behold, those who are far from you shall perish. You put an end to everyone who is unfaithful to you. But for me, it is good to be near God. I have made the Lord God my refuge, that I may tell of all your works. And it's good for us to be near God. We reference scripture today that says there's a time for everything. A time for mourning and a time for celebration. We didn't reference Proverbs 31, but the two verses go together today. Because today was the appropriate time for Grandma's children to rise up and call her blessed and speak to the blessing that she's passed on to you guys and through you guys to us. So we're grateful for that. In a sense, today we have seen that scripture fulfilled. Yep. See how far I get. I'll just pray real quick, and then we'll pass out the roses. Father in heaven, Almighty God, today we commit the spirit of Patricia Denise to you, the loving mother, loving grandmother, help counselor and friend. And Lord, we look to you for our comfort and our strength. May we love you with our whole heart, with all our soul, with all our strength. And may we love one another as ourselves. In so doing, being obedient to you and harvesting the blessing that you have for us in that obedience, so that we may continue this life as an encouragement and strength for one another. Okay. Would you like us to bring the roses up here? And
You guys want to wait till the casket is lowered and then throw them on there?
What about the sprays? Are we gonna put those on?
Well, that you probably should have been on right now, but if they're gonna lower it, we should keep those off and then give them to
Okay.
the church or something. to
Okay,
Do something with them,
okay,
decorate the church. We usually
Okay.
do right there, but- And then,
there
Where's Graves now?
So the roses are in front of Ben at the back of the, everybody wants to take one, the grandchildren especially.
Maybe they could sing while they're mowing the back this other song.
Uh-huh. You want to do that? Sing some other songs while they're lowering it? Sonia suggested. What did we miss? Come Thou Fount? That's the only one the cousins sang.
So, I love it. It is well with my soul. I love it.
Evangeline,
Yeah.
does everyone have a rose that they can lay on?
Yep, they're getting them right now.
Okay. I was just checking.
Yep, thank you. When sorrows like sea billows roll, whatever my lot, thou hast taught me to say, it is well, it is well with my soul. It is well, it is well with my soul. It is well, it is well with my soul.
Grandkids, why don't y'all line up behind Josh? Pass the procession, and then we'll move Sonia and Evangeline and Tony last. So all the kids will line up behind Josh or Traylene.
That's Daddy Dan's headstone.
Yeah.
And Mom, yeah.
You'll hold the camera. All right, that's enough. Let's move on. Everybody. So we're going to return to the house
so much. I'd like to thank you for your services as well as I thank you for your patience. See you. Sweetie. I do. Let me
Okay,
go
so
get it.
Lindsay just needs a check for $7.50. It's written right out to Genesee Valley Vault.
Okay.
Because they're
I'm gonna hold
they're
that.
the ones who are in charge.
That's the Zoom call. They're still on there.
Okay.
Evangeline? Would somebody, Evangeline? No.
It's Pony. I've got it. Would you
Pony,
like to,
I think we saw Heidi throw, oh, she's throwing two more. Okay. I wanted to make
Yeah.
sure that she threw one in for
Melody?
John.
we're gonna
Yes.
we're gonna take them all in for all the grandbabies to come as well.
Oh, how wonderful.
Yep, and this one that Heidi's about to put in, this is for John.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, okay, and say that again, Heidi. Oh, yeah, and Heidi's telling Grandma that that John loves her, and thank you, as she put the flower in.
So glad my baby could go.
So.
Oh, how sweet.
And all of your
And all the ones that are to come.
Yes.
G-E-N-E.
Yeah,
S-E-E.
that's correct. Melody, I don't know if you can see this, but here's Papa Deneen's.
I was just telling John, we were standing in that same cemetery back in 2007 in a blizzard when we buried Daddy Dan.
That's right, 2000, actually it was 6, but yeah.
2006, yes, I'm sorry.
Yep. Nope, you're
No,
close.
it was 2005. Oh,
No,
no,
2006.
2006. Okay. Well, I thought
Yeah.
it was 2006, but somebody else said 2005. Oh. Anyway, the point is, we were trying to do quick work because it was freezing cold.
Yes, it was. Yes,
No
it was.
plane everywhere. This is a much more just a beautiful scene.
Yeah.
A beautiful
It
day.
It was a beautiful day.
What is the temperature there?
It is probably in the 60s right now with a slight wind, but not too bad. You can see Sonia's wearing her coat. She's cold. But
Well, she doesn't have enough fat on her body.
true.
Apparently I have enough because I'm not old. So.
We didn't call you Bones for nothing.
That's right.
Name that will stick forever.
Oh.
Oni, would you ask her to throw a flower for me?
We did.
Yes, we did. We threw in a flower. We threw in all the flowers. Yep, Julie, one was thrown in for you. Yep. If you would like to see that, Sonia, actually, Oh, did you? Okay, here we go. Here go. Sonia's gonna throw in another one for you so you can see. Here we go.
This is from your Sonia's jewel.
So Melody, we
Thank
have
you.
You're welcome.
Yes, Evangeline?
Did you see that we had Heidi up there standing in for you?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
When all the sisters threw them together, and we had one thrown in for Lee as well at the same time. So
Oh, wonderful. Did you guys ever find a really pretty picture of Lee to set out?
I'm not sure.
I don't think we got that far.
Well, we'll memorialize her when
Another time, yeah.
All right, here goes the tent. It's coming down. Evangeline, do you wanna,
I will take that back.
there you go.
Okay, so we're just all getting back in our cars now and going back to Pony's house to eat. I wish we could put food through the Zoom call.
That's okay. We can eat separately in our own homes like most introverts do.
Okay.
Introverts unite separately in your own homes.
Right?
We get hungry, we can go grab a snack from the kitchen.
All right, we'll take lots of pictures of the fellowship as well and share those with you. And if any of you want to, like, you know, FaceTime in or Facebook Messenger in, we can probably do that too. Just like put a phone up in the middle of the room and have people come by and say hi to you or something.
We've been having a wonderful time sharing stories about Mom.
Good.
So we may
Good.
be a little while longer.
I still have a few I want to share.
Yeah.
Okay.
None of us are
Well,
done yet. So.
I'm going to mute us and let you all carry on with whatever you are doing before we jumped in here. So,
Thank you,
okay.
Thank you. This was a special surprise. I didn't expect that we were going to get transported to.
Thank you, Evangeline. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
You are welcome, Ivis.
Blessing. What a
you.
blessing.
Yeah. All right. So I'm gonna mute me and you and I'm looking forward to hearing the stories. It looks like they're still being recorded, maybe.
We are, yes, we are. We are recording. Yes.
Okay, awesome.
We got
Bless
all
you
of that
guys.
on tape. That's wonderful.
All right.
Okay, sweetheart.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, sweet.
Oh.
Oh, that was so precious. I just really wanted to have roses thrown on her grave. We did that for Mom. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
But Mom always told me I do not like red roses. Everybody likes red roses at Valentine's Day or any of those other special romantic holidays. She said, I never liked them. I like peach colored roses. And so when we contacted the florist.
Search wide and deep.
It was difficult to find a place that actually could give us that many peach colored roses. And this florist said, we can't guarantee all peach. It may be a combination of peach and white. And we said, well, that's okay. White's good. But it was all, they managed to somehow get all 48 peach roses.
And I'd asked Heidi to say, you know, I'd asked her, can you say this, you know, when you, and kiss my rose when you throw it in. She did exactly like what I had asked her to do.
Oh.
I wanted to just share a little bit with y'all about my relationship with Mom.
Yeah.
And that's what I called her. I didn't call her Patty. I called her Mom. Patty hadn't been real sure of me when I was a kid, you know, dating and everything. She wasn't real sure how I was going to turn out. And so anyway, we, you know, like I say, we partied for 20 years. But
Parted, not partied. In case
Parted, yeah.
In case it didn't come across
Right.
clearly.
As soon as Melody and I got together, then Dan and Mom came over to our house to inspect it and to check and to make sure that everything was appropriate for her daughter's new place and new partner. And I'll never forget. I think we were having a couple of little drinks, and your mom said, "Can you make me a margarita?" I said, "Sure, Mom." And so I made her one of my special margaritas. And she drank that, and she said, "Whoa, man." But anyway, beyond that, I think she was just really happy that Melody and I, who had loved each other our entire lives, were finally back together again. And she knew how much I adored Melody. And it just made her so happy that her daughter had found the love of her life again, which is how we consider each other. And so Mel would quite often go over to Tom and Angel's, and whenever they were all going to be gone, whenever they were all going to be gone, Tom and them, and Mom, of course, did all the things that Melody was talking about with me too, when I was there with her. But Mom and I developed this relationship that I never imagined. There were a few things, difficulties in my home. Anyway, Patty called me son. And as soon as I'd get in the door, she'd say, "All right, where's my hug?"
Yeah.
And,
You heard me say that she loves bear hugs.
and
She loved
if I didn't do it hard enough, she'd say, "Now I want a real hug." And we spent so many hours, so many hours with her, sharing her wisdom with me. I hadn't had too much. My dad had died when I was 6, and my mom was really, really busy. And I hadn't really had an adult share their wisdom, their life story with me and help me, think about my life and, how I was doing. But she just adored me so much. She never criticized anything, she just was as sweet as she could be. And when my daughter died, was it 3 years?
2017.
2017. I had about a 2-month breakdown. And Melody's mom, I finally went over there. And Melody's mom saw my grief. And she just, I can't explain it. She wrapped her arms around me and she held my face in her hands. And she said, "John, look in my eyes." And it was hard for me to do. But she said, "Look in my eyes, John." And she began to explain to me about grief and about how to deal with the grief. And I'll never forget that. I'll never forget her counseling me, holding me, all those things after my daughter died. So I just wanted to share the special relationship that her and I had. I loved her so much, and she loved me with all of her heart. Accepted me, loved me, was very grateful I had married a daughter. I don't know. I guess that's about it.
That's beautiful, John. John, that is really precious. It's precious to me. Just more of who Patty is and how she just loved people and touch with people and really influenced people. Yeah.
You just adopted me.
Yeah.
Funny thing is, she's really an introvert type personality, somewhat. You know, so she had a reclusive side to herself. She didn't really. There were times when she didn't want to be around people, and I understand that because I'm the same way. But you never would have known that if you came into her presence and you had a question or you had a need or, you know, she always put the other person first, ahead of her own needs. Very unselfish, you know. I marveled sometimes when I saw how she was able to do that without judgment.
I'd like to share something from Dick, my husband. Okay. The last time both of us were up there to see her, a year ago, well, it would be 2 years now ago, blueberry picking. We're right together and on the blueberry farm. Anyway, Dick got overheated out in the field and he's diabetic. So he thinks part of it was that too, but he just became so weak with the sun added to that he just almost fell. And I was so busy picking further ahead of him that he said he crawled back to the car and he called Patty and he told me this after it. He called her and she came down, drove down and got him and left the truck there so I would have a way to get back to the house. And then he called me when he got to the house and he was saying the other day, you know, that was she was so sensitive to, Dick is saying this, she was so sensitive to me. She took great care of me. She brought me water. She made sure I was comfortable in her living room. That really touched Dick deeply. And so then I get this call that what's going on? And all of go ahead and keep picking. Patty's taking excellent care of me. She's taking excellent care of me. And he said that was really special. He was talking about that recently in the past few days of how special that was for him. She didn't have to do that, he said. I said, yeah, but that's Patty. Well, you know.
She reaches out to anybody in pain. You know, that's the way she was. Anyone in pain. Right. She wanted to take their pain away.
Right. Unexpected. I mean, she was there. She was there. You know, it was all unexpected out in the field.
All the love, the acts of love and unselfish giving of herself.
Amazing lady, just amazing. And she kept in touch with me through all these years with the RV. And when she'd call from different places around the country, guess where I am now? You know, and I remember one time when they were visiting y'all, this was a long time ago, but in the RV, she and Dan were down there near you. There was an
RV park, right. I remember.
And she was trying to introduce us to that. We both went down there because they wanted us to do RVing with them too. They just loved it. They just absolutely loved it. I've never forgotten that time of being in the RV. I mean, she made it seem like a palace. It was a very nice RV. But
remember that great big cat?
Yes. I mean, I thought it was fantastic. I tried to talk Dick into all of this kind of, but you know, he just, he enjoyed it being down there. RV was not his thing, but it made a big impression on him too. The way she just was so gracious into the RV and
Yeah.
sharing every piece of her life RVing with us that afternoon, you know?
Uh-huh. Yep.
Y'all, I need to leave. But love and condolences to everybody.
Thank
To
Thank you all
too.
very much for letting me be part of this.
Thank you, Julie.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
Yes. Some of us are just not ready to give up on talking about mom. They're just,
You know what?
I mean,
I
I'm not,
remember when my mom was in hospice, she was in hospice for 10 days.
Mhm.
And everybody that came into that room, we sat there and laughed and told stories. And I don't know if my mom was there or not.
Mhm.
And she passed finally the first time she was left alone for longer than an hour.
Wow.
And then at the funeral, I had to put it all together, much like you did.
Mhm.
And we played Irish beer drinking music in a church.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, wow.
And we did, because that's what my mom liked.
I
And
didn't.
I really kind of put the dare me hat on, you know, like,
Right, right.
anybody has anything to say about it, send them to my house.
I would have loved that.
Oh my God. It was blaring in the parking lot. I didn't know that. It was just fun. But I remember how long we sat and talked afterwards, and I really wish I could stay longer, but I have children to feed, and I still have errands to do for Sonia before she gets home tomorrow. So
Okay.
We
thank
understood.
you all for letting me be part of it.
Oh, you're so welcome, Julie.
Thank you for being with us, Julie.
Yes. And we appreciate everything you did for Sonia.
Hey, it's not just a job, it's an adventure.
Or the toughest job you'll ever have.
You know what? It's the best job I've ever had.
Yes.
But it's just like a kid. You know,
Uh-huh.
some days I'm the mom, some days she's is. You know? Anyway, y'all have a great day.
Okay, Julie.
You too.
Bye, Julie.
You too, Julie.
Price, are you still with us, or do you have something you need to go do?
Well, I'm with you for about another 10 minutes here, so I would
Okay.
say. Yeah.
Okay, well, why don't you share some other memories with us while you're with us? If you have any that you didn't already say.
Well, I have so many. I mean, that's kind
No,
of
I
the
do too.
difficulty.
That's the problem.
You have any funny ones?
You would think so. I don't, like, off the top of my head, there's nothing that popped. She was very funny anyway, as everyone knows. So we had a lot of, we were always trying to poke each other with words, you know, we were,
Right, right.
and so there was a lot of wordplay in all of our conversations.
Yep.
She'd challenge your intelligence. She would.
Yeah. But that was the humor that I remember the most.
Right.
And it's very inspecific.
That's okay,
sadly.
Yeah, well, she just loved humor, and some of the poems that she's written are just hilarious. I hope that someday we can get those out to family and others who are interested, because, oh my goodness, I mean, I've been rolling on the floor sometimes listening to or reading one of her poems. It's just amazing to me.
I'll never forget that when I was dating Melody, we were both about 15 or 16. And I was over there all the time. I drove Mel insane. I drove her mom insane. Except for Sonia. Every time I walked in the house, Sonia would just leap on my back. And we called her Bones, you know, and she'd just leap on my I think that was maybe one of her favorite, her sister's favorite boyfriends. But anyway, Mom finally told me, Patty, look, John, seeing as how you're over here all the time, we're putting you on the chore list on the icebox.
Yep. So
I had to do chores.
Did they?
Oh,
you?
yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Very seriously. If you're going to be in our home this long, you can help us with some housework. You know, you're going to do dishes. You're going to throw in a load of laundry. You're going to do something.
And I did.
Yeah, that sounds like grandma.
Yeah, she did that not only with John, but with other boys who came to our home. And most of
Oh.
that was during the time that we were living at Altick Street when most of us were teenagers. I think Sonia wasn't a teenager yet, maybe Pony, but Angel, Lee, and I were.
Yeah, I think I was rather spoiled by comparison, probably as a grandchild.
Oh, yeah. Well,
because by the
yeah.
time, yeah, I don't remember quite so much when I was young. By young, I mean like, 10 and under. But later, yeah, by the time I was older, I had to like throw some elbows to like help to allow her to, me to help her and with cleanup and stuff. She didn't want any of that.
Yeah. Well, she probably, when we were kids, she was very strict about the rules, and wanted us to help with housework. She wanted us to teach. She wanted to teach us how to have a strong work ethic, So she would do things like, okay, girls, I want you to clean the bathroom floor today. And this was Evangeline and I. And she said, I'm going to come in with a white towel when you're done and rub the floor with it to see if you got all the dirt.
My goodness.
Yeah.
Did she?
You'd think she was in the military.
She absolutely did. And even to the point of in the kitchen, she got out little butter knives and we were scraping the cracks of the linoleum to make sure that all the dirt got out of the. I think it was really just that she was trying to keep 5, restless little girls occupied and teach them something at the same time.
Yeah.
And I used to ask her, Mom, why did you put us to bed at 7 o'clock in the evening? It was still sunny outside, I used to lay there and wonder, why are we in bed? It's so early. Mom said, I needed some quiet time, Figured a little extra sleep wouldn't hurt you guys. So
What were the spaces between your ages? Because you were first.
And Angel's 18 months younger than I am. So she's 60. She just turned 60 in February. Lee was 5 years younger than I am. Pony and Lee were born pretty close together as well. 13 months, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then Sonia's 8 years younger than I am. So yeah, there was an 8-year span, and I was born on October 24th. Sonia, the youngest, was born on October 23rd, 8 years later.
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
A nice ending.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, 5 children over 8 years, that's pretty tough.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is. It is. Certainly.
Amazing how she kept going.
I
Just
know.
carrying you babies.
I know.
You know what she would do over on Altick Street? It was amazing to me. She did something about each one of your interests. Pony would go, she'd take Pony over to a stable. Was over by Herman
Park. I remember that.
Yeah, and Pony had a horse over there and took care of it and rode it and all of this kind of, I guess that's where she got her name, right? Pony?
Well, Pony always wanted to be a jockey, that rode horses.
Yeah.
When she was little. And she grew up, and of course, she wasn't short enough or jockeys are little tiny compact people, and Pony wasn't. She was taller, and anyway, she couldn't make that dream come true, but she loved horses. She loved reading about horses. And she read a book one time about somebody named Pony, and she thought, hey, I don't remember if it was a boy or a girl in the book.
It was a boy.
Yeah, okay, you know that story. Tell us. Yeah.
Everything you were saying, yeah. It was, and she said she, insisted on being called Pony after that and wouldn't respond to anything else.
What was her given name?
Her given name, yeah, go ahead.
Her given name is Deborah.
Oh, right, I remember that, yeah.
Deborah Jones.
She
Deborah
took
Jones.
on the Pony. Oh.
I think
Yes,
she
that's
was, I remember her being kind of young around that time, like
Yeah,
13
she
or
was.
something, right?
Yeah. She and Lee both changed their names within a year or two of each other because Lee's actual name is Elizabeth Ann.
Mm.
She chose, well, we were calling her Lisa for the younger part of her life. She didn't like Elizabeth and she didn't want to be called Lizzie. So when she was at a certain stage of development in her growing up time, you couldn't really tell by looking at her whether she was male or female. And she kind of liked that. She had really short hair and she liked going to a new school and having kids try to figure out if she was a boy or a girl. So she named herself Lee, short for Lisa, and really short, backed off from Elizabeth. and she went by Lee from then on. That's how we know her,
And Evangeline went by Angel for
Right. Exactly.
many years.
And I wish
But
she'd
as you
go-
can see, I come by my name change, honestly.
It runs in the family.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you what, with all the typing that I've been doing lately and typing out people's names in the obituary and everything, I was thinking, I wish Evangeline, and we were in a chat room too, so we were constantly talking to each other. I wish Evangeline would go back to Angel because that's so much easier.
Yeah. I was reading that and I was like, oh, it's so many details. It's a lot to keep straight.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, I did think of something which is very interesting that I'm gonna have to kind of explore on my own almost a little bit, because you mentioned her the RV and they traveled a lot, and in my mind they traveled a lot also. Like, I mean, I thought of them as being never where they were the previous time I thought about them. Until kind of the last, like, I guess 15 years, which is kind of a long time, but before that with, Grandpa Danny, they were just always somewhere else after they left Flint anyway. Yep. And I've always been kind of I was when I was young, kind of a homebody, and I'm a introvert as well. But yeah, but I've grown to really appreciate travel, and have done some, living on the road. At 2 points now, I have sold all my stuff and traveled to different countries. And I kind of feel like that might also be largely inspired by Mima and Grandpa Dan, both just the fact that they pulled it off constantly traveling. There was a certain there's always been, to me, a certain attraction to a very minimalist lifestyle. And I don't know that I would have done that otherwise, or had that attraction anyway.
Hey, Price, which of the girls is your mother?
Pony.
Pony. Oh, Pony's your mother.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yep.
he's her oldest.
I'm the oldest of her 10.
She has, oh, that's right. I heard that earlier. 10.
Yes.
Wow.
Pony has 10, Evangeline has 5, Sonia has 4, and I had 1, and Lee didn't have any children. So
wow,
we run the full gamut.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah, my youngest brother is 8. Is he 8? He's somewhere in there.
Is it Elam? Is his name Elam?
Elam, yeah. Yep.
And when did Lee pass away?
She passed away in the middle of January. Her birthday was on the let's see, she and Pony. They're both born in January. Pony's birthday was the 10th, Lee's was the 14th, and Lee died on the 12th.
Oh.
So 2 days before her 57th birthday. But she had been suffering from Lyme disease for about 20 years. and all the co-infections that come along with that. Because she used to go hiking in the northern woods of California, where she had many dear friends who lived there. And then she, so for 20 years, she fought Lyme disease. And then that's how she, somehow or another, she and Kristen connected over that, because Kristen also had Lyme disease. For the longest time, Lee took care of Kristen. And then Lee had a stroke about 2 years ago on top of everything else. And so Kristen became her caregiver. And you know, Lee didn't want to leave California, which was really frustrating for a lot of us in this part of the country, because we wanted her to come and live closer to us so that we could help her. But she didn't want to move from that little apartment where she had been for 30 years, you know. So anyway, she was just always struggling with her health. And then she was exposed to COVID. And she ended up in the hospital, and no one was allowed to go into the hospital, even Kristen, who was her best friend. And so she died alone on a ventilator in a hospital. And we were just starting to get together to try to memorialize her and go through her things, because she had no children when mom started getting sick. And then it was just, you know, right up until today, you know, it's all been about trying to get mom taken care of. Now, Lee said she wanted to be cremated, and she wanted her ashes sprinkled up in the woods where she used to hike. There's a certain spot where there's a cliff and overlooking a river or something. And so we'll be doing that in the future. But Kristen is doing her best right now to try to go through Lee's items and send them to us, you know, bit by bit.
But there's a lot to be done.
Oh, it's a lot to be done. Now, Tim and Pony went out there about 2 weeks ago to help her, and also, you know, to help her go through. Tim is a financial expert, so he went through her financial stuff and tried to help, you know, Kristen get stuff shut, accounts closed out and things like that. But they were only there for a weekend, so it's really hard to, you know, pack up a person's entire life in one weekend.
Well, it was hard.
Are we still planning to have a memorial service on Tom and Angel's place?
Well, we kind of tossed that idea around, that when we do finally memorialize Lee, we'll probably do it at Tom and Angel's place, but I don't know. I mean, I know Kristen's going to have one in California, so it's going to be the same kind of thing. You know, we're all in different states, and it's going to depend on who can travel there and who can't at this time.
But we can always do like we're doing now, you know, have a Zoom.
This is really a wonderful way to be able to be together and not physically to be together.
Isn't it though?
It really is.
I'm just amazed at this technology. It's truly amazing.
Well, I sure hate to run. I've got company coming in about 15 minutes for dinner.
Okay.
I was cooking chicken and stuff while we kept running in and out. But this has been wonderful. And I'm so glad that you called and brought me in on this. I'm just so
Yes, that was a brilliant idea that came to us at 2:00 in the morning after Iris's text message. We went, yeah, we could stay on the Zoom call.
For all the ones that, you know, couldn't actually go there, you know, we invited them all.
I kept sitting here thinking, I'm actually watching this. So I'm not there, but I am there.
Yeah, yeah, it's just amazing to me.
It just kind of blows your mind, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And thank you so much for including me in on this. This has been, it's been very hard since I found out, because of Patty so much. So it's been a very hard time. And so that's why I did not call or really on a lot of stuff. Dick and I really had a hard time with Patty's passing, but we love y'all, and we thank you and all of your family. What a blessing. What a blessing.
Can I tell one little more short story about and Mom?
As long as it's
I know.
acceptable for recording.
It is. Melody and I, we were very much in love, and
As teenagers.
right, as teenagers, and we'd make out a little bit in the car, and Mom and Dan came out there because I had a little tiny Volkswagen, and they came out there, and the windows were just a little fogged up, and we never did anything wrong. Okay, never, not once. I mean, you know what I'm talking about. And
Yeah, I don't know. Say, I don't.
anyway,
Go ahead.
and then Mom came out to our Volkswagen. I was parked about a house away, and they knocked on our window, and they said, "You guys need to, come on in. You need to stop this." And then Dan took me to a little restaurant down there by the Gulf Freeway.
Yeah,
And he said, "I want to know what your intentions are."